Chapter 127. You're from the Fengyun Valley. When Yi Chen Feng saw the tattoo of a golden cloud on the left side of this youth's chest, he immediately recognized his identity. I'll count to 3. If you don't scram, don't blame me for being ruthless. The white-clothed youth saw Yi Chen Feng's indifference, and his face gradually turned cold. A strong, murderous aura was emitted from his body. No need to count. Make your move. Although the Fengyun Valley was the absolute overlord of the North Snow region, and their disciples were the best in the region, Yi Chen Feng was not afraid of him and spoke in a domineering manner. Interesting. I didn't expect that a small martial house disciple like you would dare to go against me. The white-clothed youth was so angry that he laughed. I hope you can clean your eyes in your next life. There are some people you can't afford to offend. As he spoke, the white-clothed youth fused with the power of his spiritual beast. The snakeskin sword in his hand emitted an ear-piercing sound, and a dazzling white light flashed. The white-clothed youth's sword light pierced towards Yi Chen Feng's throat at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. 130,000 gene of strength explode. Yi Chen Feng immediately circulated his 6 meridians divine shield and fused his physical strength and soul power together. He erupted with extreme strength and met the attack with his sword. Chi. The white-clothed youngster's sword light was broken apart by Yi Chen Feng's powerful sword strike. The coiling dragon heavy sword, which was filled with 130,000 gene of force, stabbed onto the tip of the snakeskin longsword. The powerful force forcefully bent the sword, causing the white-clothed youngster's arm to feel numb. Streams of blood flowed out from the cracked skin on his arm. And what a powerful force. The white-clothed youth didn't put Yi Chen Feng in his eyes at first, so he didn't use his full strength. Only after the exchange did he realize how terrifying Yi Chen Feng was. Flowing cloud pierce. After gaining the upper hand, Yi Chen Feng immediately used the annihilation sword art. The interweaving sword light tore through the air and pierced towards the white-clothed youth's chest. Wind and Cloud 9 swords. Feeling that Yi Chen Feng was more difficult to deal with than he imagined, the white-clothed youth decisively used his soul skill to counterattack. A sharp sword light, like a silver dragon, slashed at the flowing cloud pierce. Boom! When the 2 soul skills collided, a powerful shockwave was created, and the ancient trees around them were reduced to dust. Cracks also appeared on the ground beneath their feet. Storm Valley's disciples are indeed not simple. That sword strike, just now, was probably a high-ranked, earth-ranked soul skill. When Yi Chen Feng saw that the white-clothed youth was able to block the flowing cloud spike in such a hurry, he was shocked by the background of Storm Valley. A light flashed beneath his feet, and he turned into 3 afterimages as he continued to attack. Wind and Cloud Spirit Steps. Yi Chen Feng quickly attacked. The white-clothed youth immediately used a strange footwork, shifting and shifting in the narrow space as he fought against Yi Chen Feng. Ding, ding, dang, dang, dang. A large amount of sparks flew in all directions as the 2 of them clashed again and again. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them had already clashed more than 10 times. The concentrated attacks were dazzling. 9 swords of wind and cloud. 1 sword moved the wind and cloud. After exchanging hundreds of moves with Yi Chen Feng, not only was the white-clothed youth unable to suppress Yi Chen Feng, his arm was also numb from the powerful coiling dragon greatsword. After experiencing Yi Chen Feng's strength, the white-clothed youth immediately changed his move. The tip of his foot suddenly touched the ground, and his body flew into the air. He slashed out with his sword in midair, stirring up the wind and clouds. It was as if a flood dragon had descended into the world, and he fiercely slashed towards Yi Chen Feng. Sword Force Second Layer. When a silver-white sword light attacked, Yi Chen Feng's sword force gushed out from his body. It fused with the strength of 150,000 kilograms and poured into the coiling dragon greatsword, heavily slashing at the dragon-like sword light. Boom! When the 2 powerful forces collided, they once again stirred up 1,000 ripples. The powerful force bombarded Yi Chen Feng and the white-clothed youth, causing them to retreat at the same time. However, Yi Chenfeng only retreated 3 steps, while the white-clothed youth retreated 5 steps. It was clear that Yi Chenfeng's attack power was above his. Sword force. What you used just now was sword force. The white-clothed youth's expression greatly changed. He didn't dare to imagine that Yi Chenfeng, who was a level 4 Earth Beast general, had actually comprehended the sword force that he yearned for even in his dreams. Congratulations, you got it right. The corner of Yi Chenfeng's mouth slightly curved up. He used Form Displacement Phantom and rushed towards the white-clothed youth. Profound Frost Spirit Water, Ice Seal. When approaching the white-clothed youth, Yi Chenfeng used the power of the profound Frost Spirit Water, releasing a powerful cold air to seal the white-clothed youth. Crack! Caught off guard, the white-clothed youth's body was covered in a thick layer of frost, continuously freezing his body. With Yi Chenfeng's current strength, he was still unable to use the profound Frost Spirit Water's strongest power. However, with the white-clothed youth's strength, he still couldn't resist the power of the profound Frost Spirit Water. In a blink of an eye, his body was frozen by the profound Frost Spirit Water. Collapsing Cloud Palm. After using the power of the profound Frost Spirit Water to freeze the white-clothed youth, Yi Chenfeng immediately sent out a palm strike towards the ice sculpture. 3 palm strikes filled with the power of the collapsing cloud palm broke through the ice seal and bombarded the white-clothed youth's body. Buzz! Just as the white-clothed youth was about to be killed by Yi Chenfeng's palm strike, a white halo suddenly shot out from his body and blocked the attack of the collapsing cloud palm. PFFF. PFFF. With the help of the amulet given by the Storm Valley, the white-clothed youth managed to escape the calamity. However, he was still heavily injured by Yi Chenfeng's palm strike. A large amount of blood sprayed out from his mouth. Brat, I will remember you. The next time I see you, I will definitely take your dog life. There was only one amulet. Without it, the white-clothed youth no longer had any means to save his life. He wanted to leave after leaving behind a vicious sentence. There won't be a next time. Yi Chenfeng used Form Displacement Phantom and caught up with the heavily injured white-clothed youth. Once again, he used the power of the profound Frost Spirit Water to freeze the white-clothed youth's body. Storm 9 Swords, Storm cleaving the 9 provinces. This time, the white-clothed youth was prepared. The moment his body was frozen, he ignored the damage to his body and forcefully used the most powerful killing move of the Storm 9 Swords. The Storm 9 Swords was a high-grade Earth-rank soul skill of the Storm Valley. It was extremely powerful. The Storm cleaving the 9 provinces was the most powerful killing move of the Storm 9 Swords. Its power was comparable to a top-grade Earth-rank soul skill's all-out attack. Facing such a terrifying sword attack, Yi Chenfeng did not retreat. Instead, he used all his strength to meet the attack. Annihilation Sword Art, Wind Shadow Slash. Yi Chenfeng shouted. Second Layer Sword Force, 130,000 gene of strength, and the power of the profound Frost Spirit Water were all poured into the coiling Dragon Greatsword. With a slash of the sword, the air was completely turbulent. The powerful sword light directly split the white-clothed youth's storm, cleaving the 9 provinces, and slashed his body. Like cutting tofu, it broke the beast's soul armor on his body and split his body into 2 halves. In the next moment, Yi Chenfeng appeared behind him. At the moment when the spiritual beast in his head dissipated, Yi Chenfeng used the soul-devouring art to devour the spiritual beast in his head and end his life. Chapter 128. How could the disciples of Storm Valley be so poor? In a secluded valley in the depths of the ancient forest, Yi Chenfeng took out the Chinquin bag that he had plundered from the white-robed youth. When he broke the seal of the Chinquin bag, he revealed a disappointed expression. 2 soul recovery pills, 100 mid-grade soul crystals, 3,000 low-grade soul crystals, and a 10,000-year-old blood ginseng king. Other than that, there was nothing else. And the 10,000-year-old blood ginseng king in his Chinquin bag should have been obtained from the true spirit realm. It seems that the Storm Valley was afraid that their disciples would die in the secret realm, so they only allowed them to bring life-saving items. However, the amulets that the Storm Valley gave them are not cheap. After about an hour, Yi Chunfeng had completely recovered his soul power and injuries. He left the secluded valley and continued to move into the depths of the ancient forest. Yi Chunfeng shuttled through the ancient forest for about 8 days. Although he didn't gain anything special, he gradually comprehended the extermination sword art's third move, instant kill, from the fierce battles with the powerful spirit beasts in the forest every day. Instant kill sword art. Yi Chunfeng's pupils shrank. His entire body had merged with the coiling dragon-heavy sword. In an instant, an extremely thin sword light was formed, piercing out 100 meters. The sword beam had been condensed to the pinnacle. It was more than 5 meters tall. It was a 6th-grade spirit beast. It had exposed its sharp fangs. It had been cleaved into 2 halves. A large amount of blood splashed out like a fountain and dyed the mountain forest red. The power of this instant kill sword art is indeed terrifying. However, the consumption is a bit high. Using this sword art has almost used up 1/3 of my soul power. I wonder if using this sword art can instantly kill a level 6 beast general. Yi Chunfeng was very satisfied with the power of this instant kill sword art. After mastering this move, he was confident that he could kill Yushan Xian under his sword. What's that sound? As Yi Chunfeng was moving through the forest, he passed by a secluded valley. Suddenly, he heard a terrified scream coming from the valley. He immediately stopped. What's in this valley? In the true spirit realm, opportunities and dangers coexisted. The more dangerous a place was, the more likely it was to be accompanied by a great opportunity. What's that? When Yi Chunfeng retracted his aura and slowly approached the end of the call, he saw a strange tree that was more than 10 meters tall. It was completely black, and its trunk was covered with sharp, poisonous thorns. And in the center of this strange tree, there were 2 basin-sized fruits that looked like ghost heads. One of the ghost head fruits emitted a hair-raising wailing sound, while the other opened its bloody maw and bit at the corpse of a martial artist. Could this be the ghost withered tree and the ghost face weeping heart fruit? Looking at the strange tree in front of him and the 2 strange ghost face fruits, Yi Chunfeng immediately remembered that there was an extremely intelligent and ferocious strange tree called the ghost withered tree. The ghost withered tree was extremely cruel and liked to suck people's souls. And the fruit that it had grown for 10,000 years was called the ghost face crying heart fruit. It was even more brutal and liked to eat people's flesh and blood. However, the ghost face crying heart fruit was indeed a top-grade spirit item in the world. It had a miraculous effect on body refinement, and its value was even higher than normal Earth-level soul pellets. I never thought that the true spirit realm would have such a miraculous item. If I can get those 2 ghost face crying heart fruits, I might be able to reach the completion of the muscle refining realm. But judging from the color of this ghost withered tree, it should be at least 50,000 years old. Its power should be far beyond mine. Looking at the horrifying ghost withered tree not far away, Yi Chunfeng was a bit hesitant as to whether he should take the risk and get the 2 ghost face crying heart fruits that were even more valuable than Earth-level soul pellets. However, the 2 ghost face crying heart fruits were too tempting for Yi Chunfeng. Adding on the fact that the profound cold spirit water could slightly suppress the ghost withered tree. After hesitating for a while, Yi Chunfeng decided to take the risk. Form shifting phantom. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath as his entire body suddenly sped up, leaving behind afterimages as he quickly approached the ghost withered tree. After battling for more than 10 days in the true spirit realm, Yi Chunfeng's control of the shadow power had deepened by another level. He could now instantly form 4 afterimages and increase his speed by 4 times. As Yi Chunfeng approached, one of the ghost face crying heart fruits immediately let out a shrill cry, disturbing Yi Chunfeng's mind. In the next second, Yi Chunfeng felt the ground under his feet start to shake. Many arm-thick black roots broke through the hard ground and pierced towards Yi Chunfeng's body like steel spears. Sword form second sky break. With the help of the god-eating brain, Yi Chunfeng dispelled the ghost face crying heart fruit's disturbing effect on his mind. A shocking sword aura was released from his body as it merged with the coiling dragon heavy sword. He then threw out a sword attack towards those black roots. 130,000 pounds of power combined with the destructive power of the second sky of the sword aura had shattered the black roots like they were nothing, and it continued to approach the ghost withered tree. Lowly human, go die. A huge amount of black roots were shattered, and an old face appeared on the huge trunk of the ghost withered tree, speaking human language and roaring in anger. The pitch-black treetop shook violently. A large amount of black light that looked like black blades shot out, bombarding Yi Chunfeng from a short distance away. Instant kill sword attack. At the critical moment, Yi Chunfeng's entire body fused with the coiling dragon greatsword in his hand, turning into a silvery white sword shadow. It overflowed with a fierce sword aura, tearing apart the black light that covered the sky and approached the two crying ghost fruits that were emitting a ghostly cry. Profound cold spirit water freeze. Without waiting for the two ghost-faced crying heart fruits to attack, Yi Chunfeng released the power of the profound cold spirit water, forcefully freezing the two ghost-faced crying heart fruits that were about to attack. Wind shadow slash. Then, Yi Chunfeng suddenly took a deep breath. Second sky of the sword form, 130,000 pounds of power once again merged into the coiling dragon heavy sword, and fiercely chopped down on the two ghost-face, crying heart fruits that were frozen by the profound cold spirit water. Kacha! A huge amount of ice was shattered by the half-moon sword shadow, and the sharp sword light cut down the two ghost-face, crying heart fruits, causing a huge amount of blood-like liquid to splash out. Profound cold spirit water freeze. After successfully cutting down the two ghost-face, crying heart fruits, Yi Chunfeng immediately used the power of the profound cold spirit water to forcefully freeze the two ghost-faced crying heart fruits and put them into his chinkoan bag. Ah, lowly human, I'm going to kill you. The two ghost-faced crying heart fruits that had been condensed for tens of thousands of years were forcefully taken away by Yi Chunfeng, and this completely enraged the ghost withered tree. An extremely powerful roar was released from the old face, and like thunder from the nine heavens, it attacked Yi Chunfeng's body. Pooh! After being attacked by the ghost withered tree's sound wave attack, Yi Chunfeng's soul shook, and a huge amount of blood flowed out from his 7 orifices. If his brain had not merged with the God-Eater brain, and his soul's defense was beyond superhuman, the sound wave released by the ghost withered tree would have been enough to shatter his soul. Pong! Yi Chunfeng, who had lost control of his body, heavily smashed onto the ground. Then, his body exploded with a huge amount of power, and he bounced up from the ground, escaping towards the entrance of the valley. Lowly human, leave your life behind. Chapter 129. What's that sound? What's in a valley ahead? While Yi Chunfeng was fighting with the ghost withered tree, the loud noise spread out for dozens of miles and was heard by 2 genius disciples who were passing by. Kursin, are you interested in going to the valley with me to have a look? A tall and burly man in a dark blue robe asked with interest. His long black hair casually draped over his shoulders, giving off an unrestrained feeling. Haha, why not? Brother Gaofei, let's go. Yi Kursin, who was wearing a dark red robe and full of killing intent, laughed and followed the genius disciple of the Thunderbird Mountain, Yin Gaofei, towards the valley where Yi Chunfeng was. Ghost withered tree. Yi Kursin and Yin Gaofei, who were both skilled and bold, ran into the trembling valley. They immediately saw the ghost withered tree with a shaking black crown and an ancient face that was crazily attacking it. This ghost withered tree is as black as ink and has a ghost face on it. It's probably more than 50,000 years old. Such an old ghost withered tree must have produced a ghost face crying heart fruit. Thinking of this, Yi Kursin and Yin Gaofei both looked at the twisted root prison with burning desire in their eyes. If they could obtain the ghost face crying heart fruit, it would be very beneficial for them. Yi Kursin was even more confident that he could use the power of the ghost face crying heart fruit to continuously increase his cultivation level and mutate his spirit beast to reach the heavenly beast immortal realm. At this moment, Yi Chanfeng, who was trapped in the twisted root prison, was covered in wounds and blood. If his body was not strong enough, he would not have been able to withstand the powerful attacks of the ghost withered tree. Black cold spirit water freeze. Yi Chunfeng, who had consumed a lot of energy, threw a soul recovery pill into his mouth and used the black cold spirit water to forcefully freeze the roots that had been broken by the coiling dragon-heavy sword. In the next moment, the second heaven of sword form, 150,000 pounds of force, and a strand of black cold spirit water all poured out of Yi Chinfeng's body and merged into the coiling dragon-heavy sword, activating the 9 attack patterns at the same time. Instant kill sword. Yi Chinfeng's entire body fused together with the coiling dragon-heavy sword, transforming into an extremely thin white sword beam. Carrying an astonishing destructive power, the sword broke through the hole that was frozen by the profound cold spirit water and charged out. It's him. Yi Kursin, who was waiting outside, immediately recognized Yi Chenfeng, who had broken out of the core prison. Thinking of the humiliation that Yi Chenfeng had brought to him when he entered the true spirit's secret realm, Yi Kursin's eyes shot out thick murderous intent. Violet Thunder Sword Technique. Yi Chenfeng leaped into the air amidst the rubble. Thunderous sounds rang out from his body as he slashed out with his sword. A sword light entwined with purple lightning tore through the sky, heading straight for Yi Chenfeng. Phantom Shift. Yi Chenfeng's soul power was extremely sharp. The moment he broke out of the prison formed by the ghost withered tree's roots, he had already sensed the existence of the two. Therefore, the moment Yi Chenfeng launched his sneak attack, he performed the Phantom Shift and instantly turned into 4 afterimages, dodging the attack 3 times in a row. He dodged Yi Kursin's Violet Thunder Sword technique and dashed out of the valley at an extremely fast speed. Where do you think you're going? Seeing that Yi Chenfeng was trying to escape, the rank 6 Earth Beast General Yun Gaofei roared as he pulled out the huge blade on his back and slashed towards Yi Chenfeng, wanting to stop him. Compared to the two, the crazy ghost withered tree posed a bigger threat to Yi Chenfeng. Seeing the blade light in front of him trying to stop him, Yi Chenfeng did not try to dodge. Instead, he exploded with his strongest power and slashed out with the coiling dragon-heavy sword. Boom! Yun Gaofei's blade light was shattered by Yi Chenfeng's sword. Yi Chenfeng performed the Phantom Shift and dashed out of the two's encirclement at an extremely fast speed, disappearing into the chaotic valley in the blink of an eye. Not good. After Yi Chenfeng broke through the encirclement with his absolute strength, Yi Kursin and Yun Gaofei were immediately attacked by the berserk ghost withered tree roots. Sensing how terrifying the ghost withered tree roots were, Yun Gaofei immediately took out a purple crystal from his Chinquan bag and quickly threw it out. Rumble. The purple crystal shattered, and a large amount of lightning exploded, bringing with it a deafening roar of thunder. In an instant, it shattered hundreds of roots as thick as a child's arm, and followed Yi Chenfeng out of the kernel. Yi Chenfeng, leave the ghost face crying heart fruit, and I will spare your dog life. Lightning flashed under Yi Kursin's feet as he looked at Yi Chenfeng, who was running wildly in the forest, and ordered loudly, "If you want the ghost face crying heart fruit, then you can take it with your lives." Yi Chenfeng, who was riddled with wounds, didn't pay any attention to Yi Kursin and Yi Qingyu. He swallowed another soul recovery pill and quickly replenished the soul power in his body. At the same time, he used the complicated terrain to escape from the two's pursuit. There's no way out. Yi Chenfeng ran wildly for the time it took for a stick of incense to burn. Suddenly, he discovered that a bottomless abyss appeared in front of him, blocking his path. Let's see where you can run to this time. Yi Kursin and Yun Gaofei, who were chasing after Yi Chenfeng, revealed cruel smiles when they saw that he was blocked by the abyss. They released powerful auras and locked onto him. Since there's no way out, then let's fight. The injured Yi Chenfeng swallowed a third soul returning pill and grasped the coiling dragon heavy sword in his hand. His pupils constricted as he watched the two approaching step by step. After swallowing 3 soul-returning pills, Yi Chunfeng's soul power, which was almost depleted, had recovered by half. He could use the instant kill sword once. However, Yi Chunfeng wasn't sure if the two of them had protective talismans on them. His eyes flickered as he looked at the two of them, constantly thinking of who to attack. Yi Chunfeng, I can't help but admire your luck. You actually obtained the ghost face, crying heart fruit in the true spirit secret realm. However, your good luck ends here today. We'll personally send you to the Yellow Springs. Yi Kursin said with cold, killing intent. There are many people who want my life, but it's a pity that I sent all of them to hell. Yi Chunfeng laughed coldly. He sped up the recovery of his soul power while giving tit for tat. You're just a class 4 earthly beast general trash. How dare you threaten us? Yin Gaofei didn't put Yi Chunfeng in his eyes at all and sneered. Yin Gaofei had just finished speaking when a suffocating sword aura gushed out from Yi Chunfeng's body. It rushed into the clouds and shattered their auras. Sword aura. Feeling the sword aura gushing out from Yi Chunfeng's body, Yin Gaofei's expression changed greatly. He didn't think that Yi Chunfeng, who was only a class 4 earthly beast general, would be able to comprehend the sword aura that swordsmen yearn for even in their dreams. Shape-shifting phantom. While Yin Gaofei was still in shock, Yi Chunfeng's body moved. In an instant, he created 4 afterimages. Like a bolt of lightning, he attacked Yi Kursin. Good timing. Yi Kursin had already expected Yi Chunfeng to attack him first. His pupils shrank. The silver sword in his hand drew out a purple lightning light, bringing with it a powerful destructive force as it met Yi Chunfeng's attack. The moment Yi Kursin attacked, Yin Gaofei also attacked. A terrifying blade light swept through the air and slashed towards Yi Chunfeng. Instant kill sword. Just as Yi Kursin and Yun Feiyun's thunderous attacks were about to hit Yi Chunfeng's body, Yi Chunfeng, who was moving at high speed, suddenly accelerated. His entire body turned into an extremely thin sword light that tore through the air and pierced through Yi Kursin and Yun Feiyun's soul skills, stabbing towards the careless Yin Gaofei. At this critical moment, the protective talisman that Yin Gaofei had refined into his body projected a defensive halo. It blocked Yi Chunfeng's instant kill sword. However, the instant kill sword attack was too terrifying. The defensive halo formed by the protective talisman was still cracked by the instant kill sword. The sharp sword light pierced through the halo and stabbed Yin Gaofei's body. Yin Gaofei didn't expect Yi Chunfeng to be so terrifying. When he thought back to the feeling of life and death, 2 of his 3 souls were scared out of his wits. He desperately tried to escape. Profound frost, spiritual water, freeze. Yi Chunfeng didn't give Yin Gaofei a chance to escape. He used the power of the profound frost, spiritual water to freeze his body. Cloud-crushing palm break. Chapter 130. Yi Chunfeng, you actually dared to kill him. Yi Kursin looked at Yin Gaofei's shattered corpse and felt that it was unreal. He could not believe that Yin Gaofei, who was a class 6 Earth Beast General, would be instantly killed by Yi Chunfeng, who was a class 4 Earth Beast General. Yi Kursin, it's your turn next. Yi Chunfeng raised his coiling dragon greatsword up high and pointed it at Yi Kursin, who had an ugly expression. He released an aura of disdain as he spoke in an overbearing manner. Although Yi Chunfeng had intimidated Yi Kursin in terms of aura, his body's condition was not good. After forcefully using the instant kill and killing Yin Gaofei with the cloud-crushing palm, Yi Chunfeng did not have much soul power left in his body. He was definitely not Yi Kursin's match. However, he did not dare to let Yi Kursin see through his intentions. He could only use the aura of killing Yin Gaofei to intimidate Yi Kursin and pray that he would back off. Otherwise, he would only have one option, to jump off the cliff. When he met Yi Chunfeng's eyes that were as sharp as swords and felt his aura of disdain, Yi Kursin indeed had thoughts of retreating. However, Yi Kursin was very smart. Although he had thoughts of retreating, he did not retreat immediately. Instead, he stood 10 meters away and observed Yi Chunfeng in silence. Seeing Yi Kursin's action, Yi Qinfeng's heart could not help but sink. If he continued to remain in a deadlock, Yi Kersin would definitely see through his intentions. As expected, when Yi Kersin saw that Yi Chunfeng did not take the initiative to attack him, he sensed that something was wrong. The corner of his mouth rose slightly, and a trace of coldness appeared as he said, "It seems like my guess was not wrong. After killing Yun Gaofei, you are already an arrow at the end of its flight." As he spoke, the silver longsword in Yi Kersin's hand trembled. 6 sharp sword rays pierced towards Yi Chunfeng at an extremely fast speed, testing whether he was faking it or not. Second heaven sword form, break. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath, and the second layer of sword force gushed out, surging into the coiling dragon greatsword. He slashed forward, and the powerful sword light broke through Yi Kersin's probing attack. Pooh! However, at this moment, Yi Chunfeng was too weak. After breaking through the 6 sword beams, he was also injured. A stream of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. "Yi Chunfeng, you can die now." Seeing the blood flowing out of Yi Chunfeng's mouth, Yi Kersin calmed down. He held his silver sword and attacked Yi Chunfeng, wanting to kill him quickly and take everything he had. "You want to kill me? Try again in your next life." At the critical moment, Yi Chunfeng clenched his teeth and exerted force in his legs. Under Yi Jixin's attack, he brushed against the cliff and jumped into the bottomless abyss. Soon, he was swallowed by the thick clouds. Damn it! When Yi Kersin saw Yi Chunfeng suddenly jump off the cliff, he was so angry that his face turned ashen. He immediately came to the edge of the cliff. However, he hesitated and did not dare to jump off to chase after Yi Chunfeng. In the biting cold wind, Yi Chunfeng, who had lost control of his body, rapidly plummeted. In order to reduce the speed of his descent, Yi Chunfeng clenched his teeth and constantly erupted with astonishing strength. He stabbed the coiling dragon Apei's sword into the hard cliff, igniting large amounts of sparks and forcibly slowing down the speed of his descent. However, the abyss Yi Chunfeng had jumped into was so deep that he could not see the bottom. After falling for 2 incense sticks of time, he still had not reached the bottom. At this moment, Yi Chunfeng's arms had long since gone numb. Large amounts of blood flowed out from his cracked skin. Cracks also appeared on the surface of the coiling dragon Apei's sword that was constantly rubbing against the cliff. If not for the fact that Yi Chunfeng had cultivated his 6 meridians divine shield to the 3rd layer, his physical strength reaching 130,000 jin, his arms would have been broken long ago. The flow of air has reversed. I'm finally at the bottom. Just as Yi Chunfeng, whose arms were severely injured, was about to lose his grip on the violently vibrating coiling dragon Apei's sword, he suddenly felt the flow of air beneath him reverse. He knew that he was finally at the bottom of the cliff. Pung! Yi Chunfeng's uncontrollable body smashed heavily into the damp bottom of the cliff, creating a large crater in the ground. Although he had been using the coiling dragon Apei's sword to constantly reduce the speed of his fall, it was still not a light fall. More than half of his bones were broken, and his organs were severely injured. He fell into a coma. Fortunately, Yi Chunfeng's physical body was sufficiently strong. His recovery speed was dozens of times that of an ordinary person. Coupled with the automatic circulation of the soul-devouring art, Yi Chunfeng's body was recovering from his injuries. About 3 days later, Yi Chunfeng, whose injuries had mostly recovered, woke up from his coma. Phew, I'm still alive. That's great. Feeling the soreness in his body, Yi Chunfeng, whose lips were broken, revealed a smile. He forced himself to sit up and looked around. There are so many skeletons. Why are there so many skeletons here? When Yi Chunfeng saw his surroundings clearly, he discovered that at the bottom of the dark and damp abyss, there were piles of white bones. Among them, there were many large and terrifying beast skeletons. Could there be some unknown danger at the bottom of this cliff? Looking at the large pile of skeletons in the distance, Yi Chunfeng immediately became nervous. With his current physical condition, he was unable to use his peak strength to deal with any dangers that could appear at any time. But this strange bottom of the cliff was very enclosed, making it even more difficult to leave. Helpless, Yi Chun-feng could only take out 2 soul-returning pills and throw them into his mouth to quickly heal his injuries. Because Yi Chun-feng's injuries were too severe, he had to spend 3 full days to fully recover to his peak condition. Fortunately, Yi Chun-feng did not encounter any danger in these 3 days. This allowed him to breathe a sigh of relief. He decided to take the risk and explore this strange bottom of the cliff to find a way out. But as he went deeper, Yi Chun-feng discovered that there were more and more skeletons at the bottom of the cliff. However, these skeletons had been there for many years. With a light touch of his foot, they immediately weathered away. A stone tablet. Why is there a black stone tablet at the bottom of the cliff? As he walked, Yi Chun-feng suddenly discovered that not far in front of him, there was a mysterious stone tablet that was nearly 5 meters tall. It was completely black, and its surface was as smooth as a mirror. On the stone tablet, there were 12 boundless and vigorous blood-red words written in a flamboyant style. The sword points to the heavens. Blood stains the earth. Battle the heavens. Destroy the heavens. What bold strokes. What an arrogant tone. What kind of great figure left this behind to actually threaten to destroy the heavens? Looking at the 12 domineering words on the mysterious stone tablet, Yi Chun-feng was deeply shocked. Deep in his heart, he had an impulse to worship it. This power? Sword force. How can these 12 blood-red words contain the power of sword force? Suddenly, Yi Chun-feng discovered that within these 12 vigorous blood-red words, there was an intense sword force concept that stimulated the sword force within his body to uncontrollably surge out. When the sword force within Yi Chun-feng's body and the sword force contained within the 12 vigorous blood-red words intertwined, a devouring black hole suddenly appeared within the black stone tablet, swallowing Yi Chun-feng, whose expression changed greatly. In the next moment, Yi Chun-feng was surprised to discover that he had appeared in an ancient hall that was engraved with ancient totems. The black stone tablet that he had seen outside stood in the center of the hall. Chapter 131. It has been 101,000 years. Finally, someone has found this sword steel. The blood-red light spirit's hollow eyes shot out rays of bloody light as it looked at Yi Chun-feng, who was staring at it as if it was facing a great enemy. You are. Yi Chun-feng looked at the blood-red light spirit with caution as beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Although the blood-red light spirit was far away from him, he could feel a strong sense of danger from it. He did not doubt that if the blood-red light spirit wanted to kill him, he would not be able to fight back at all. I am the tablet spirit and the owner of this stone palace. I am also your tester. The blood-red light spirit said in a deep voice. Junior, are you willing to accept my test? What test? Yi Chun-feng asked. Your test is this sword steel. However, if you fail, you may lose your life. The tablet spirit said slowly. However, if you can pass the sword steel's test, not only will I give you a reward, I will also send you to the inner palace to accept the test there. If you can pass the test, you will inherit the 3 most precious items in the true spirit secret realm. Senior, how difficult is the sword steel's test? Yi Chun-feng took a deep breath and asked. There are 10 great sword steels in the true spirit secret realm. Many talented juniors have found the sword steels, but unfortunately, until now, no one has passed the test of the sword steels, and all of them have lost their lives, said the steel spirit. No one has passed the sword steel's test, and they have all lost their lives. After knowing the difficulty of the sword steel's test, Yi Chun-feng took a deep breath and hesitated. Junior, if you are scared, I can send you out. However, you only have one chance. You can make your own choice. The tablet spirit looked at Yi Chun-feng, who was hesitating, and said softly, the path of cultivation was to go against the heavens and seize one's life. Stepping on this path was a life and death struggle. If one could not train oneself in life and death situations, one would be eliminated sooner or later. Moreover, I have the God-Eater brain as my trump card. Thinking of this, Yi Chun-feng took a deep breath and said firmly, Senior, I am willing to accept the sword steel's test. Good, very good. Before the test, I will give you 3 days to comprehend the sword steel. After 3 days, I will send you into the sword steel. You can only leave the sword steel after you pass the test. But if you fail, you will stay in there forever. Jianbei nodded and said, "Thank you, senior." Yi Chunfeng said as he looked at the sword steel that was more than 5 meters tall. It was completely black and had a large number of patterns on its surface. All right, you can comprehend it now. As for how much you can comprehend, that will depend on your talent and ability, the tablet spirit said. Yes. Yi Chunfeng nodded and sat cross-legged under the sword steel. He quietly adjusted his breathing for a while and combined the power of the God-Eater brain. He released his soul power into the sword steel and began to understand the sword force carved on the sword steel. He entered the void state so quickly, the tablet spirit, who was floating in the air, noticed that in just 2 breaths, Yi Chunfeng entered the void state without showing any signs of discomfort or strain. It revealed a surprised expression. It seems like he really has a chance of passing the test. The tablet spirit, who had existed for God, knows how many years, revealed a rare smile. It floated in the air in silence and patiently waited. After a day, a sharp sword force gushed out from Yi Chunfeng's body and stirred up the air in the stone hall. The terrifying sword force did not dissipate for a long time. Not bad, not bad. He is only a grade 4 Earth Beast General and has comprehended the 3rd heaven of sword force. Furthermore, his cultivation foundation is abnormally solid. This young man's talent is indeed extraordinary. If he can improve further, he should be able to pass the sword steel's test, muttered the tablet spirit. Damn it, what did that bastard Yi Chunfeng hide? Yushan Xian, whose deep eyes were filled with a murderous aura and a ferocious expression, roared angrily with a bloody spear in his hand. In order to kill Yi Chunfeng, Yushan Xian had spent most of his time searching for Yi Chunfeng's whereabouts. However, to no avail. This made him very angry. That figure? Just as the murderous Yushan Xian crossed a lush thicket and continued to search for Yi Chunfeng's whereabouts, he discovered a beautiful figure that resembled a dark elf flashing before his eyes, not too far away. Fu Yue. Looking at the tall and graceful Fu Yue from afar, Yushan Xian's eyes immediately burned with desire. He quickened his pace and chased after her. A cold and moving beauty like Fu Yue completely aroused Yushan Xian's desire to conquer her. More importantly, Fu Yue and Yi Chunfeng both came from the Sky Fire Marshal House. He might be able to find Yi Chunfeng through her. Who is it? Sensing a vague aura behind her, Fu Yue furrowed her brows. She tapped the ground with the tip of her foot, and her graceful body turned into an afterimage as she leaped onto an ancient tree that was more than 20 meters tall. She asked cautiously, "Don't be nervous, it's me." Yushan Xian looked at Fu You's cold and beautiful face and hot body. He walked out of the lush shrub and revealed a smile that he thought was very handsome. Yushan Xian. Looking at Yushan Xian's handsome face, Fu Yue frowned slightly. There was no expression on her cold and beautiful face. Fu Yue, this true spirit realm is full of danger. I wonder if you're interested in being my companion? Yushan Xian took the initiative to invite her. Not interested. Fu Yue rejected coldly. Her body flashed slightly, and she wanted to leave. You are not interested, but I am very interested in you. Yushan Xian tapped the ground with the tip of his foot. His body turned into a series of afterimages and blocked Fu Yue. He said maliciously, "Fu Yue, if you are willing to be my woman, I can ask my grandfather to accept you as his last disciple. I can also provide you with unimaginable cultivation resources to help you break through to the heavenly beast immortal realm." Get lost. Hearing Yushan Xian's arrogant words, Fu You's face became extremely ugly. An invincible sword light was reflected from her body. She slashed at Yushan Xian. Sword force. Feeling that Fu You's sword was full of killing power, Yushan Xian's face changed drastically. He quickly blocked it with his purple cloud spear. Sky-breaking sword art, mountain and river break. At this time, Fu Yue slashed a second time. A shocking sword light that could break mountains and rivers traversed the void with amazing destructive power. It slashed at Yushan Xian's purple cloud spear that was above his head. Boom! A powerful explosive force rose. Yushan Xian, who was careless, was slashed by Fu Yue. The seventh move of the sky-breaking sword art, which was combined with two sword forces, made his blood boil. He kept retreating. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Yushan Xian, I will not kill you this time. If you dare to offend me again, be careful of your dog head. Two slashes injured Yushan Xian. Fu Yue glanced at him coldly and warned him without any courtesy. Chapter 132. 3 days have passed. Now it's time for you to take the test. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Looking at Yi Chenfeng, who was sitting motionlessly under the sword steel like a statue, the tablet's spirit woke him up. In the next moment, a soaring sword force gushed out from Yi Chenfeng's body, tearing the air apart. The crisscrossing sword force lingered in the air for a long time. Sword force level 4. In just 2 days, he has comprehended sword force level 3 and level 4 consecutively. This talent is too terrifying. The tablet spirit had been around for many years and had seen many geniuses, but it had never seen a monster like Yi Chenfeng. There was a ripple in its calm heart. Maybe he really has a chance to pass the ultimate test of the true spirit secret realm and inherit the spirit tribe's inheritance. It's been 3 days, time flies. Yi Chenfeng reluctantly woke up from his state of enlightenment. In these 3 days, Yi Chenfeng had used the God-Eater brain to continuously deduce the profound sword force engraved on the sword steel. Finally, in a limited time, he had improved his sword force by another level, reaching sword force level 4. Press your hand on the sword steel. I will help you activate the test, the tablet spirit said slowly, its tone much gentler. Yes. Yi Chenfeng nodded, stood up from the ground, and pressed his right hand on the sword steel that was as smooth as a mirror. In the next moment, Yi Chenfeng felt that he had been brought into an independent space. A tall, cold-looking man in a black robe with dark patterns stood in front of him, holding an aquamarine light sword. What a terrifying, murderous intent! Feeling the murderous intent from the black-robed man, Yi Chenfeng's pupils immediately shrank into the most dangerous pinhole shape. Kill! The black-robed man's turbid eyes suddenly shot out rays of light, and the deafening word kill resounded in the space, shaking Yi Chenfeng's eardrums slightly. In the next moment, Yi Chenfeng clearly saw the aquamarine long sword in the black-robed man's hand move, slashing towards him. The black sword light tore through the air at an unbelievable speed, slashing towards him. Sword force level 4. Feeling the terrifying power of the black-robed man's sword, Yi Chenfeng's sword force level 4 immediately gushed out from his body, gathering into a light sword that was more than 10 meters long, and met the attack. When the two sword lights intersected, they immediately stirred up ripples, cutting through the air and creating crisscrossing cracks. Let's see how many swords you. After his attack was neutralized by Yi Chenfeng, the black-clothed man's eyes narrowed. He then slashed out 3 more times. The speed of each slash was faster than the speed of light, and the power of each slash was multiplied. Not good. Yi Chenfeng held onto the coiling dragon-heavy sword. After forcefully blocking the black-robed man's 2 swords, he was unable to block the 3rd sword. The astonishing sword light slashed into his mind, and a crack immediately appeared on his soul. Large amounts of blood flowed out from his 7 orifices. If it wasn't for the fact that the black-robed man's attack only targeted the soul and not the physical body, the earlier sword attack would have slashed Yi Chenfeng's body into 2. God-engulfing brain, repair. Yi Chenfeng endured the splitting headache and controlled the God-engulfing brain to forcefully repair his severely damaged soul. In about 2 breaths' time, Yi Chenfeng's soul was completely healed. Too strong. This black-robed man is too strong. How can I defeat him? After witnessing how terrifying the black-robed man was, Yi Chenfeng felt immense pressure. He felt that with his current strength, going head-on against the black-robed man was no different from courting death. Interesting. You're actually fine after taking one of my swords. I want to see how many of my swords you can block. Sensing that Yi Chunfeng's soul had recovered in an instant, the black-robed man's cold and arrogant face revealed a strange smile. Streams of sword chi gushed out from his body, sweeping across the world. 100 spirits sword slash. Hundreds of sword chi gushed out from his body. They were like meteors that streaked across the sky, dragging long sword chi as they attacked Yi Chunfeng. For a moment, Yi Chunfeng felt as if the world was spinning and the air was tumbling. It was as if the space before him was being torn apart. The destructive power in the sword light made him feel suffocated, and he could smell the scent of death. Facing the black-robed man's 100 spirits sword slash, Yi Chunfeng knew that he had no way out. He had to defend with all his strength. If he couldn't defend against the 100 spirits sword slash, his life would be in danger. Instant slash. Yi Chunfeng clenched his teeth. His entire body fused with the coiling dragon greatsword, turning into an extremely thin sword light. With a shocking sharpness, he rushed into the 100 sword lights. Sword Force 5th Layer Heavens break. 130,000 gene of strength break. Profound Frost Spirit Water break. In order to break through this move of the black-robed man, Yi Chunfeng used all his trump cards. He was like a lone boat in the sea, fiercely fighting in the storm, seeking for a chance of survival. Chi. Yi Chunfeng fought with all his might, but his soul was still injured by the black sword lights, and a large number of sword scars appeared. Although his soul was severely injured, Yi Chunfeng's battle intent was getting stronger and stronger. In this life and death struggle, Yi Chunfeng gradually entered a mysterious state. A vast sword force was like a stormy sea, tumbling and roaring in the black sword rain. Under the wave after wave of sword force attacks, the black-robed man's 100 spirits sword slash finally had an opening. Yi Chunfeng's body flashed and rushed out. To be able to defend against my 100 spirits sword slash, you are the first in 1,000 years. However, you are still far from being able to defeat me. The black-robed man looked at Yi Chunfeng, whose soul was severely injured, without a trace of emotion, and said softly, "Not necessarily. Although Yi Chunfeng's current situation wasn't good, his soul was constantly being attacked. This allowed the God-Eater brain to capture a trace of something mysterious and quickly deduce. Then let me see how you are going to defeat me." Annihilation. The black-robed man roared. A sword light filled with the power of annihilation tore through the heaven and earth. The sword light rushed into the clouds like a sea, overturning the horizon. The sword light slashed towards Yi Chunfeng. Trajectory. Yes, that's the trajectory. Every sword strike he sends out is fused into the same trajectory. Seeing that Yi Chunfeng's soul was about to be split open by the black-robed man's destructive sword strike, the God-Eater brain, which was rapidly deducing, captured the trajectory of this sword strike. Swish! Yi Chunfeng's body moved slightly, brushing past the black-robed man's sword and dodging to the side. Instant kill sword. In the next moment, Yi Chunfeng and the coiling dragon greatsword merged into one and stabbed out at extreme speed. The sharp sword light filled with 4 sword forces pierced through the black-robed man's chest and directly penetrated his body. You capture my attack trajectory." The black-robed man ignored the sword hole in his chest and widened his eyes. He looked at Yi Chunfeng in disbelief. He didn't dare to imagine that with Yi Chunfeng's strength, he could actually capture his attack trajectory in an instant. "Yes, I've already seen through Senior's attack trajectory. I wonder if Senior still intends to continue?" Yi Chunfeng nodded and asked, "If you can withstand my next sword strike, you will pass." The black-robed man's eyes shot out a gaze that was sharper than a sword. A sharp aura burst out from his body. In the blink of an eye, he merged into the trajectory of the attack. Chi! The sound of cloth being torn was suddenly heard. A sword light that looked like a spatial crack shot out. It tore through the space and slashed towards Yi Chunfeng with astonishing attack power. Instant kill sword. The black-robed man used his body to launch a fatal attack. Yi Chunfeng didn't dodge. Instead, he used instant kill to meet the attack. As the sword lights intersected, Yi Chunfeng used the power of the God-Eater brain to lock onto the trajectory of the attack. He avoided the black-robed man's shocking attack. However, the instant kill he unleashed had accurately pierced through the black-clothed man's head, piercing through it. Kacha! A crisp shattering sound was heard. The moment the black-robed man's head was pierced, a crack appeared on the surface of the sword steel. Chapter 133. Junior, congratulations on passing the sword steel's test and obtaining the qualification to enter the inner palace for the final test. The sword steel shattered, and the steel spirit appeared in the sword steel's space, speaking in a much gentler tone. He had waited in the true spirit's secret realm for more than 100,000 years, and finally, someone had passed the sword steel's test. Phew, I finally succeeded. Seeing the steel spirit appear, Yi Chunfeng let out a long sigh of relief. After using the instant kill sword at such a high intensity, Yi Chunfeng was almost out of energy. Fortunately, he had passed the test in the end. According to our agreement, I will now give you your reward. As he spoke, ripples appeared in front of the steel spirit, and 3 treasures with powerful sealing runes appeared in front of Yi Chunfeng. These 3 treasures are your reward for passing the sword steel's test. However, you can only take away all 3 treasures if you pass the inner hall's final test. Now, you can only take one. The sword steel said slowly. Senior, may I know what these 3 treasures are? Yi Chunfeng asked as he looked at the 3 treasures that were sealed within the runes. The first treasure is called the gigantic Fault Heavenly Sword. It is made from a whole piece of stardust iron and more than 10 kinds of precious materials. It weighs 10,000 pounds. However, when it was made, it did not incorporate any offensive formation inscriptions into it. Therefore, this gigantic Fault Heavenly Sword is only a low-grade celestial weapon. The tablet spirit opened the seal of the first treasure and introduced it. A lower-rank heaven weapon made from stardust iron. After knowing the gigantic Fault Heavenly Sword's grade and weight, Yi Chunfeng could not help but take a deep breath, and his eyes were burning with passion. Heaven weapons were legendary treasures, and there was not a single one in the entire North Snow region. More importantly, this heaven weapon was made from stardust iron. Normally, when forging an earth weapon, just adding a fingernail-sized piece of stardust iron would greatly increase the quality of the earth weapon, not to mention such a big piece. Moreover, the Heavenly Fault Heavenly Sword itself did not have any offensive runes sealed. It could be said that this gigantic Fault Heavenly Sword was tailor-made for him. If he could obtain it, even if he encountered a heavenly beast immortal expert, he was confident that he could kill them with the help of the gigantic Fault Heavenly Sword. Yi Chunfeng was deeply moved by the titanic Fault Heavenly Sword, but he did not make a decision immediately. Instead, he looked at the second sealing treasure. The second treasure is a 1.5 caddy bottle of water from the Spring of Life. It can replenish 3,000 years of lifespan. The tablet spirit undid the seal on the second treasure and introduced it. Spring of Life. Looking at the crystal white porcelain bottle floating in the air, Yi Chunfeng was even more shocked. The Spring of Life was also known as the Water of Vitality. It was a type of divine water that could restore life force and only existed in legends. Normally, the Water of Life was useless to ordinary martial artists, but to old monsters who had 1 foot in the coffin, it was the most precious. If the water of the Spring of Life appeared in the soul-fighting continent, it would set off a bloodbath. Senior, may I know what the third treasure is? Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and suppressed the shock in the depths of his heart. He cast his gaze towards the third sealing treasure and asked. The third treasure is a secret technique called the Life Spirit Technique, said the tablet spirit. Secret technique. Yi Chunfeng knew how precious secret techniques were. The 6 Meridian Heavenly Shield that he had obtained was a secret technique. It was because of the 6 Meridian Heavenly Shield that he could make up for his weak spiritual beast and reach where he was now. The Life Spirit Technique is based on the essence of life. It is a secret technique that burns one's life force in exchange for a terrifying amount of life force. It is a secret technique that can increase one's strength instantly. At most, it can increase one's cultivation level by an entire realm in a short time. All right, I've already told you the origins of these 3 treasures in detail. Now, it's your turn to choose, said the tablet spirit as it looked at Yi Chen-feng, who had sunk into deep thought. The Titanic Fault Heavenly Sword, the Water of Life, the Life Spirit Technique. Looking at the 3 treasures, Yi Chen-feng kept making his choice. Although the Titanic Fault Heavenly Sword was the most useful to him at the moment, he knew that as his strength increased, the Water of Life and the Life Spirit Technique would be far more valuable than the Titanic Fault Heavenly Sword. Have you decided? What is your choice? Asked the tablet spirit. The Life Spirit Technique. Yi Chen-feng finally made his decision and chose the secret technique, the Life Spirit Technique. Haha, you are indeed very smart. This Life Spirit Technique is the most precious of the 3 treasures. You may not be able to understand its power now, but you will understand its power later on. Increasing one's cultivation level by an entire realm is a secret technique that can change one's fate. It is enough to make those big shots fight over it. The tablet spirit was very satisfied with Yi Chen-feng's choice and laughed loudly. As for the Titanic Fault Heavenly Sword and the Water of Life, you have a chance to obtain them. As long as you can pass the Inner Hall's final assessment, you will be able to obtain these 2 items. All right, now you can study the Life Spirit Technique. Once you have done so, I will send you to the Inner Hall. The tablet spirit handed the Life Spirit Technique Cultivation Jade Slip to Yi Chen-feng. Thank you, Senior. Yi Chen-feng nodded and took the jade slip. He injected his soul power into it and began to study the Life Spirit Technique. Life was the foundation of a person. It was the foundation of qi, where luck was. The change of life was the change of a person. As Yi Chen-feng studied the Life Spirit Technique, a large number of cryptic chants appeared in his mind. Fortunately, the God-Eater brain was powerful enough to help Yi Chen-feng gain insights. Gradually, Yi Chen-feng felt a large amount of life force appear in his mind. They intertwined and merged, making him feel like he was in control of fate. Oh, the life force. He has mastered the Life Spirit Technique so quickly. 2 days later, the tablet spirit was shocked to discover that there were strands of life force in Yi Chen-feng's body. Its expressionless face was shocked. Could it be that he is fated with the spirit tribe? Is he the person that the spirit tribe has been waiting for? The tablet spirit could not help but become excited when it thought of the possibility. After another 2 days, with the help of the God-Eater brain, Yi Chen-feng gradually mastered the Life Spirit Technique. He had completely grasped the method of burning life force in exchange for the power of destiny. However, life was too precious. Yi Chen-feng did not dare to waste it recklessly to test the true power of the Life Spirit Technique. You have mastered the Life Spirit Technique. The tablet spirit asked with anticipation when it saw Yi Chen-feng awaken from his enlightenment after only 4 days of cultivation. Yes, I have mastered the Life Spirit Technique, Yi Chen-feng said with a nod. Your talent is the highest I have ever seen. Perhaps you can create a miracle and pass the final test of the Inner Palace. Knowing that Yi Chen-feng had really mastered the Life Spirit Technique, the tablet spirit was not stingy with its praise. Senior, how difficult is the final test of the Inner Palace? Yi Chen-feng asked. The test of the Inner Palace is set based on one's bone age. The younger the bone age, the easier the test. Therefore, the difficulty of the final test of the Inner Palace should not be as high as you imagine. However, if you fail the test, you will still lose your life. If you succeed, you will inherit the most precious treasure of the true spirit's secret plane. Therefore, it is up to you to decide if you want to accept the final test, the tablet spirit explained in detail. Senior, I am willing to accept the final test. Yi Chen-feng took a deep breath and said firmly, Okay, I will now open the path to the Inner Palace for you. When the time comes, all you need to do is drip your blood on the control key of the Inner Palace, and you'll be able to enter the space of the final test. Junior, I wish you good luck. Chapter 134. It's so dark. After entering the spatial passageway that led to the endless void, Yi Chen-feng could only see pitch-black darkness. He couldn't see anything and could only proceed cautiously. After advancing for about 15 minutes, a white light flashed in front of him. In the pitch-black spatial passageway, a beam of white light appeared. It enveloped a solemn-looking black sculpture that was hugging a longsword. Buzz! As Yi Chunfeng slowly approached the sculpture, a towering sword aura gushed out from the sculpture's body and slashed at Yi Chunfeng with a sharp aura. Sword aura attack. Yi Chunfeng didn't panic when he was suddenly attacked by the sculpture. Similarly, a sharp sword aura gushed out from his body and pierced through the firmament, breaking the sculpture's attack with a single strike. Buzz, buzz, buzz. With his attack broken, the statue's black gemstone-like eyes shone with a sharp glint. Streaks of sword energy shot out one after another, continuously attacking Yi Chunfeng like a torrent of mercury. Break! The sculpture's sword aura wasn't strong. Yi Chunfeng raised his sword aura to the second layer of heaven and broke the sculpture's attack. He slashed at the sculpture's body and shattered the sculpture. The spatial passageway turned pitch black again, sharpening the sword aura. The moment Yi Chunfeng shattered the sculpture, the God-Eater brain captured a trace of the sword aura's intent. I didn't expect the path to the inner hall to have such benefits. It seems like this is another reward for passing the sword monument test. Yi Chunfeng controlled the God-Eater brain to deduce the sword aura that the sculpture released. After gaining some insights, he continued to advance deeper into the pitch-black spatial passageway. Buzz! After 15 minutes, another beam of white light lit up in the pitch-black spatial passageway. It shone on a sculpture that was holding a sword with one hand and had sharp eyes and a sharp sword aura. In the next moment, an extremely fast sword radiance tore through the pitch-black spatial passageway like a thunderbolt from the nine heavens and slashed at Yi Chunfeng. Sword aura, second layer of heaven. Yi Chunfeng's body moved slightly. Using his hand as a sword, he slashed out a sharp sword momentum to meet the attack. Yi Chunfeng was in no hurry to shatter the single sword sculpture in order to experience the sword force concept contained in it. Instead, he suppressed his sword force to the second layer of heaven and continued to fight with him. As time passed, the sword force contained within the single sword sculpture grew weaker and weaker. Finally, a crisp cracking sound was heard. The single sword sculpture that had exhausted its sword momentum shattered, turning into dust and dissipating in the dark space. Who created these sculptures? They're so mysterious. Yi Chunfeng continued to sharpen his sword momentum, but he did not stop. He continued to move forward while comprehending what he had just comprehended. While Yi Chunfeng was in the pitch-black space, receiving the baptism of the sword statues one after another, and heading toward the mysterious inner palace, a huge vibration suddenly came from the depths of the true spirit's secret realm, setting off monstrous airwaves. A 10,000-meter wide, 10-meter tall, dark gold stone palace appeared in the deepest part of the true spirit's secret realm. It had ancient totem carvings on the walls, breaking through the solid ground. What is that? Many disciples of the three major sects in the depths of the true spirit's secret realm noticed the sudden appearance of this ancient stone palace. They all sped up and rushed over to check it out. Divine Palace. The divine palace that appeared thousands of years ago has appeared again. Standing on a 30-meter tall ancient tree, Yu Shanxian looked at the giant divine palace in the distance. He was very excited as he recalled the introduction of the divine palace in the true spirit's secret realm in the ancient books of the Skyfire sect. My opportunity has come. Everything in the divine palace is mine. If I obtain the inheritance of the divine palace, I will definitely become a peerless king. Yu Shanxian's eyes were burning with passion. He gave up on his grudge with Yi Chunfeng and increased his speed to the maximum, rushing over like he was flying. He was prepared to fight for the supreme inheritance of the divine palace at all costs, paving the way for himself to become a king. Pong! The eighth sword aura sculpture was shattered. Looking at the sword aura sculpture that had turned into dust, Yi Chunfeng closed his eyes and continued to comprehend. After the baptism of the eight sword aura sculptures, Yi Chunfeng felt that his understanding of sword aura had reached a higher level. almost touching the fifth heaven of sword aura. Kill, kill. As he walked, Yi Chunfeng suddenly felt a huge pressure enveloping him. The deafening word kill pierced his ears. In the next moment, endless white light appeared in the dark space. It was so bright that it was dazzling. It was like a red sun in the darkness, making people unable to look at it directly. When the white light gradually dissipated, Yi Chunfeng saw a 5-meter-tall, stalwart sculpture holding a pair of swords not far in front of him. A terrifying pressure filled the world. The momentum was so strong that Yi Chunfeng felt suffocated. What a powerful double-sword sculpture. The sword aura contained in this double-sword sculpture is probably more powerful than the previous 8 sculptures combined. Feeling the terror of the double-sword sculpture, Yi Chunfeng was highly focused. He constantly condensed his sword aura and slowly approached it. Suddenly, Yi Chunfeng's pupils contracted into the most dangerous pinhole shape. 2 intersecting sword lights tore through the space and slashed over at a speed faster than light. Fourth heaven of sword aura break. Yi Chunfeng roared. The fourth heaven of sword aura gushed out from his body. The terrifying sharpness was unparalleled and shocked everyone. He slashed at the intersection of the double sword sculpture and broke the attack of the double sword sculpture. Kill, kill, kill. After the first slash, there was an ear-piercing killing sound from the double sword sculpture. Sword lights that were filled with the concept of destruction were like raging waves as they slashed at Yi Chunfeng. Facing the tide-like attacks from the double sword sculpture, Yi Chunfeng didn't take out the coiling dragon broadsword or use any soul skills. He only released the fourth heaven of sword aura to resist. While resisting, he controlled the God-Eater brain to comprehend. Tisk tisk. Facing the frenzied attacks from the double sword sculpture, Yi Chunfeng's body was covered with sword wounds. Large amounts of blood flowed out and dyed his clothes red. However, Yi Chunfeng didn't care about his physical injuries. It was as if he wasn't the one who was injured. He was only resisting and comprehending. It was unknown how many moves they exchanged. Yi Chunfeng's attacks were getting fiercer and fiercer, and he had the absolute advantage. Just as the double sword sculpture's sword aura was about to be exhausted, the double sword sculpture suddenly shattered. The sword aura in its body instantly condensed into a torrential sword of light. Following this, a radiance lit up. The sword that was filled with the final sword aura of the double sword sculpture slashed across the space. It was like a crescent moon as it slashed towards Yi Chunfeng. Seeing the crescent moon sword light descending from the sky, a boundless sword aura gushed out from Yi Chunfeng's body. It pierced through the sky, and the sword aura was like a mountain and river. It was endless and boundless. Fifth heaven of sword aura. At the final moment, Yi Chunfeng finally comprehended the fifth heaven of sword aura. He burst out with the strongest sword aura and slashed at the crescent moon sword light. In a flash, the crescent moon sword light was shattered by Yi Chunfeng's fifth heaven of sword aura. The powerful sword aura slashed into the distance and didn't dissipate for a long time. Chapter 135. This is the inner hall. Yi Chunfeng looked at the majestic and grand hall in front of him. There were thousands of stone pillars with coiling dragons. The hall was paved with white jade bricks and inlaid with egg-sized luminous pearls, and he felt a sense of grandeur, especially the coiling dragons carved on the stone pillars. They seemed to be coiling and rising, as if they were soaring through the clouds. It gave Yi Chunfeng a huge visual impact. It made him feel as if he was in a dragon's domain, surrounded by dragons. And balls of light. There are 3 balls of light floating over there. Just as Yi Chunfeng released his powerful soul power to search this huge stone hall, he discovered 3 balls of light floating in the air at the entrance of the stone hall. After approaching, Yi Chunfeng discovered that sealed within the 3 balls of light was a jade-green jade sword, a black saber, and a huge axe carved with dark patterns. Although these 3 treasures were sealed by the balls of light, and Yi Chunfeng could not accurately sense their ranks, Yi Chunfeng could still feel that they were extraordinary at first glance. Especially the jade-green jade sword. Yi Chunfeng liked it very much. If he could obtain this jade sword, it It would be just right to replace the damaged coiling dragon heavy sword. Sword Force 5 Layered Heavens, Wind Shadow, Slash. Yi Chen-feng roared. His body swept through the air like a sharp sword. A soaring sword force gushed out from his body and fused into the coiling dragon heavy sword in his hand. It interweaved into a half-moon sword shadow and ruthlessly slashed at the white ball of light. Buzz, buzz. The white ball of light was attacked by Yi Chen-feng's full-strength sword. Cracks immediately appeared on the surface of the ball of light. A large amount of white light shot out, and it was so dazzling that people could not open their eyes. 130,000 gene of strength, profound frost spirit water, break for me. Yi Chen-feng saw the cracks on the surface of the ball of light. He continuously increased his physical strength and controlled the power of the profound frost spirit water to surge into the coiling dragon heavy sword. It intersected with the Sword Force 5 Layered Heavens and continuously attacked the white ball of light. Under Yi Chen-feng's frenzied attacks with the coiling dragon heavy sword, the restriction on the surface of the white ball of light grew weaker and weaker. Finally, the restriction on the ball of light was broken, and the dark green jade sword sealed within the ball of light fell to the ground. Mid-grade, Earth Tier. After catching the jade sword, the god-devouring brain immediately identified the grade of the jade sword. With this jade sword, Yi Chen-feng's attack power had at least doubled. Rumble. When Yi Chen-feng obtained the green jade sword, a loud explosion suddenly came from the entrance of the stone hall. A clear crack appeared on the restriction on the door. In the next moment, a blurry figure passed through the crack in the restriction and appeared in the stone hall. Yi Chen. Seeing the first person to enter the stone hall, Yi Chen-feng was slightly surprised. It seems that this Yi Chen is also someone with great luck. I wonder what his trump card is. While Yi Chen-feng was surprised, Yi Chen also revealed a look of disbelief. He racked his brains and couldn't figure out how Yi Chen-feng had broken the stone hall's restriction and sneaked in without anyone noticing. Yi Chen-feng, I realize that I have underestimated you. You are indeed a little different. However, everything in this stone hall is mine. I will kill anyone who dares to touch it. Yi Chen glanced at the two balls of light floating not far away and discovered the two earthly treasures sealed within them. His eyes emitted a thick, killing intent as he spoke in a sinister tone. If you want the treasures in this stone hall, then show me your true abilities. Yi Chen-feng held the jasper sword in his hand. His aura suddenly erupted like a volcano. His entire body was like an unsheathed sword, incomparably sharp. 10,000 kill technique. Feeling Yi Chen-feng's fierce aura, Yi Chen-'s pupil shrank. His spirit beast, the saber-toothed tiger, emerged from his body and turned into a soul armor to protect his body. In the next moment, the killing intent in Yi Chen-'s body was released without reservation. In an instant, two crescent-shaped killing intent halos condensed on his back. As the killing intent halos condensed, Yi Chen-'s strength rose steadily until he reached the limit of a grade 6 Earth-tier beast general. He was only a step away from the heavenly beast immortal realm. What kind of cultivation technique is this? Seeing the killing intent halos condense behind Yi Chen and feeling his soaring strength, Yi Chen-feng vaguely guessed that Yi Chen had slaughtered more than 5,000 people to cultivate this evil cultivation technique. Yi Chen-feng, it's your honor to die under the 10,000 kill technique. Go to hell. Yi Chen, whose strength had soared and whose killing intense sword, roared. A spirit sword that shone with silver light like a long snake flew out of his chinquin bag. It drew a sword ray filled with killing intent and shot towards Yi Chen-feng's chest. Sword art of annihilation, flowing cloud pierce. Yi Chen-feng's eyes suddenly sharpened. He stabbed with the jasper sword in his hand. The dark green sword ray was like a spinning top as it hit the killing intense sword ray. Boom! The two sword rays collided, stirring up a substantial shockwave that spread out in all directions. The momentum was terrifying. The moment the two sword rays collided, Yi Chen rushed towards Yi Chen-feng like a gust of wind. His speed was close to the speed of light, making it difficult for others to catch sight of him. In the blink of an eye, he appeared 3 meters in front of Yi Chenfeng. The silver sword in his hand stabbed out 9 times. Each sword was fatal, stabbing towards the 9 major acupoints on Yi Chenfeng's body. Once Yi Chenfeng was hit by any one of these 9 swords, he would be severely injured and his combat strength would be greatly reduced. Chi chi chi. The 9 sharp swords pierced through Yi Chenfeng's body. However, Yi Chenfeng did not show any pain on his face. His body also slowly dissipated along with the 9 swords. Not good. My speed is like an afterimage. Yi Cursin frowned and suddenly felt that something was wrong. Your attack speed is too slow. At this moment, Yi Chenfeng's cold voice entered his ears. The jasper sword intertwined with a glaring sword ray and stabbed towards his back like a hot knife through butter. Killing sword. At this critical moment, Yi Cursin reacted instinctively. The power of 2 killing auras surged into the sword in his hand. At an unbelievable angle, the sword ray broke through the sword ray and stabbed the tip of the jasper sword. The sharp killing aura forcefully blocked the sword aura that surged out from the jasper sword. Streaks of dense energy surged in the air. Sword aura, 3rd heaven break. The sure kill attack was blocked by Yi Chenfeng. Immediately, an astonishing sword aura surged out from Yi Chenfeng's body and merged with the jasper sword with a force of 130,000 Jin, increasing the strength of the attack. Crack! The silver sword in Yi Cursin's hand could not block the sharp attack of the jasper sword. Cracks appeared on the surface of the sword. The powerful force surged into his arm through the sword, causing his skin and flesh to split open and blood to flow out. Yi Cursin, is this your trump card? It's only SOSO. Yi Chenfeng looked at the pale-faced Yi Cursin, who kept retreating. He revealed an arrogant smile and spoke with disdain. Yi Chenfeng, don't be too proud. The final victory will belong to me. 10,000 killing art, boiling, killing aura. Yi Cursin took a deep breath and burned the 2 halos of killing intent that he had condensed at all costs. Instantly, his attack power reached an unimaginable level, and his surging killing intent made people shudder. Kill! Yi Chenfeng and Yi Cursin moved at the same time. They engaged in an intense battle. Sword lights intertwined, and sword auras spread out in all directions. Chapter 136. Yi Chenfeng. After tearing open the Stone Hall's restrictions and entering, Yushan Xian and Jian Qingtian, the Sword Hall's genius, saw the intense battle between Yi Chenfeng and Yi Cursin. They looked as if they had seen a ghost. In the next moment, a scene that stunned Yushan Xian and Jian Qingtian appeared. Instant kill sword. Yi Chenfeng saw Yushan Xian and Yi Chenfeng appear from the corner of his eye. He no longer hid his strength. His entire body merged with the jasper sword in his hand. A thin green sword light pierced towards Yi Cursin's throat. Killing sword. Feeling the terror of Yi Chenfeng's sword, Yi Cursin poured all his boiling killing intent into the cracked long sword and resisted with all his might. However, the instant kill sword was too fast, and the explosive power was too terrifying. It instantly hit his throat. Bang! The amulet that Yi Cursin had refined into his body shattered, and a halo of energy instantly enveloped Yi Cursin's body. Sword Aura Level 5 break. Seeing that Yi Cursin had used the amulet's power to escape, Yi Chenfeng raised his attack power to the peak. He increased the Jasper sword's attack power to the maximum, and the sword pierced through the halo of energy. It left a bloody hole in Yi Cursin's throat. Bang! Yi Cursin's head could not withstand the Jasper sword's light and directly exploded. Blood and flesh splattered all over the ground, and his corpse fell limply into a pool of blood. How is this possible? How can his attack power penetrate the amulet's defense? Yushan Xian and Jian Qingtian widened their eyes and looked at Yi Chenfeng as if he was a monster. They could not believe what they were seeing. After all, the amulets refined by the 3 major sects were difficult for even ordinary heavenly beast immortals to break. However, Yi Chenfeng, who is a grade 4 Earth Beast General, had done it. His sword is strange. If I'm not wrong, the sword in his hand should be a mid-grade Earth artifact. As a genius of the Sword Hall, Jian Xingtian was very sensitive to swords and guessed the grade of the jasper sword. Damn it! How did that bastard sneak in? Yu Shanxian said angrily. After witnessing the power of Yi Chenfeng's sword, Yu Shanxian sensed a strong sense of danger. Shanxian, let's not deal with that brat first. Let's snatch the treasures in the 2 balls of light first. That way, we can deal with him, Jian Xingtan said through voice transmission, his eyes gleaming. All right. Yu Shanxian nodded and looked at the 2 white balls of light floating not far away. Let's get that black saber first. Jian Xingtian sent a telepathic message and attacked together with Yu Shanxian. They leaped into the air, each holding their own weapon. Their attacks interweaved with each other and bombarded the white ball of light that sealed the black saber, causing the ball of light to shake violently. Cloud-shattering palm. Seeing what the 2 of them were doing, Yi Chenfeng immediately tried to stop them. The instant he used form-shifting phantom, he sent a palm towards the 2 of them. The terrifying cloud, collapsing palm drew a dazzling light in the air, fiercely bombarding the 2 people, forcibly interrupting their attacks. You're courting death. Yu Shanxian suddenly took a deep breath. The purple cloud spear in his hand interweaved with a spinning spear light, stirring the air and piercing towards Yi Chenfeng. Wind shadow slash. Yi Chenfeng stepped on the ground with 1 foot and charged straight into the air. A crescent-shaped sword light cut through the air, breaking Yu Shanxian's spear light and fiercely slashing towards the 2 of them. The 2 of them fell to the ground from the air, the blood in their bodies churning violently. Yi Chenfeng, how dare you attack us? Yu Shanxian took a deep breath and suppressed the surging blood in his body. He angrily roared. Do you know that the disciples of the martial house are forbidden from attacking the disciples of the heavenly fire sect? If they are caught, their cultivation will be crippled. Cripple my cultivation. Yi Chenfeng coldly snorted and said, Fine, I will stand here. Let's see which one of you has the ability to cripple my cultivation. Yi Chenfeng, I admit that your attack is very powerful, but you have to know that once the matter of you killing Yi Curson is exposed, you will face the wrath of Thunderbird Mountain and the Thunder Mountain Martial House. And if you are willing to give those 2 treasures to us, we can promise to help you deal with the people of Thunderbird Mountain, Jian Chengtan slowly said. Do you think I will believe your nonsense? Yi Chenfeng coldly smiled and said, If you want those 2 treasures, then use your life to exchange for them. Yi Chenfeng, do you really want to become enemies with my heavenly fire sect? Don't you want to enter the heavenly fire sect in the future? Going against us has no benefits for you. Jian Xingtian looked at Yi Chenfeng with a gloomy expression. If it wasn't for Yi Chenfeng's terrifying attack, he would have already taken action. I said, if you want those 2 treasures, then use your life to exchange for them. If you think you have the life to take those 2 treasures, then make your move. Yi Chenfeng was unmoved. He held his sword with one hand and pointed it at the 2 of them as he coldly said, Changtian, the people outside are about to break in. I don't believe that we can't kill them if we work together. Yu Shanxian coldly looked at Yi Chenfeng and transmitted his voice. Good. Since you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame us for not giving you a chance. Jian Xingtian nodded heavily. A fierce tiger appeared on his body and roared at Yi Chenfeng. Yi Chenfeng, when you fall in my hands, I will let you taste all the pain in the world and let you slowly die in despair. Yu Shanxian never dreamed that Yi Chenfeng, who he once regarded as an ant, would grow so fast that he had no choice but to work with Jian Xingtian to deal with him. Why? Do you think you could defeat me by working together? Feeling the aura emitted by the 2 of them, Yi Chenfeng said disdainfully, To be honest, I'm afraid your strength is not as good as Yi Curson's. Purple Cloud Spear Art. Being ignored by Yi Chenfeng completely angered the arrogant Yu Shanxian. He roared and merged with the power of his spiritual beast, the Iron Frame Rhinoceros. He held the high-grade spiritual artifact, the Purple Cloud Spear, and stabbed over. Yu Shanxian, your growth is too slow. Seeing Yu Shanxian's spear, Yi Chenfeng didn't retreat or dodge. He held the Jasper sword and met the attack with a sharp sword aura. Clang! The Purple Cloud Spear and the Jasper sword collided and exploded. A large number of energy halos surged in the air like water ripples. Facing Yi Chunfeng's sword head-on, Yu Shanxian showed a look of disbelief. His hands, which were holding the purple cloud spear, were bleeding profusely. He almost couldn't hold the purple cloud spear. Yin Yang sword. When Yi Chunfeng injured Yu Shanxian, Jian Chengtian attacked. Two sword lights, one red and one black, crisscrossed and attacked Yi Chunfeng. Break! A light flashed under Yi Chunfeng's feet. He held the jasper sword and met the attack. The sharp sword aura crisscrossed at the tip of the jasper sword and stabbed out at extreme speed. This sword was not only fast, but also erratic like the wind. Jian Xingtian couldn't predict the attack trajectory of this sword. Yi Chunfeng broke Jian Xingtian's yin and yang sword with one strike and pierced toward Jian Xingtian's chest with irresistible force. In a hurry, Jian Xingtian quickly placed the high-grade spiritual sword in front of his chest to block Yi Chunfeng's extreme sword. However, Yi Chunfeng's sword was full of three sword auras. Coupled with the attack power of the jasper sword itself, it pierced through Jian Xingtian's high-grade spiritual sword and hit him hard in the chest. He flew out like a kite with a broken string and fell hard to the ground. Yu Shanxian, I have to say that you are too weak. Yi Chunfeng glanced at Yu Shanxian and Jian Xingtian, who were deeply shocked by his strength, and sneered coldly. Chapter 137. How was this possible? How can his attack be so strong? Seeing Yi Chunfeng break through the white ball of light that he and Jian Xingtian could not even break through, Yu Shanxian's face was extremely gloomy. He could not accept this fact. Shanxian, this Yi Chunfeng's attack power has exceeded our expectations. Furthermore, we have already used up our trump card when we attacked the palace door's restriction earlier. The only thing we can do now is to borrow the hands of others. Only then will we have a chance to get rid of him and take everything he has. Jian Xingtian sent a sinister sound transmission. Okay, then we will attack the restriction from the inside and let the people outside in. Yu Shanxian nodded and quickly rushed to the restriction with Jian Xingtian. Purple Cloud Spear Art. Yin Yang Sword. Yu Shanxian and Jian Xingtian attacked at the same time. The spinning purple spear light and the sharp Yin Yang sword continuously attacked the restriction. Just as Jian Xingtian had guessed, the restriction on the inside was much weaker than the outside. After being attacked by them, cracks immediately appeared on the surface of the restriction. You are courting death. Seeing what Yu Shanxian and Jian Xingtian were doing, Yi Chunfeng's face instantly darkened. Because he was worried about their identities and was afraid that the Heavenly Fire sect would blame him, Yi Chunfeng had been merciful and did not take their lives. However, Yi Chunfeng did not expect them to be so ungrateful. They wanted to break the restriction on the palace door and let the people outside in to attack him. This made Yi Chunfeng want to kill the two of them. Just as Yi Chunfeng was about to attack and kill the two of them, a powerful force from the outside bombarded the restriction that was full of cracks. The restriction was forcibly broken, and a dozen figures rushed in at an extremely fast speed. Yu Shanxian, hand over the treasures you have, and I will spare your lives. Zhang Xingyue, the #1 Earth Beast General in Fengyun Valley, was dressed in a white robe. He was tall and straight, and his long black hair was casually draped over his shoulders. He held a dragon-headed broadsword and glared at Yu Shanxian and Jian Xingtian as he ordered loudly. Other than the earth weapon and the ball of light, he has taken all the other middle-grade earth weapons. He has also killed Yi Curson. Yu Shanxian pointed at Yi Chunfeng and provoked loudly. If you want the middle-grade earth weapon, go to him. Mid-grade, earth tier. Mid-grade earth tools were extremely precious in the North Snow region. In the Heavenly Fire sect, only the 4 Hall Masters were qualified to possess a mid-grade earth tool. After learning that Yi Chunfeng had obtained a mid-grade earth tool from the Stone Hall, everyone looked at him with burning eyes. They were eager to try and snatch it, especially the Thunder Mountain Marshall House disciples who discovered Yi Curson's corpse. The killing intent in their eyes was even thicker. They wished they could chop Yi Chunfeng into 1,000 pieces to avenge Yi Curson. Brat, hand over the earth tool, and I'll spare your life. Zhang Xingyue ordered domineeringly as she pointed her dragon head blade at Yi Chenfeng. The dragon head broadsword in his hand was also an earth tool. However, it was a low-rank earth tool. It was bestowed to him by the Storm Valley Master when he became the #1 Earth Beast General of the Storm Valley. If you want an earthly artifact, then take it with your lives. Yi Chenfeng knew that a battle was unavoidable. He did not back down and spoke with high fighting spirit. Good guts. I want to see if your strength is as big as your guts. Zhang Xingyue's expression instantly turned gloomy. When she fused with her spirit beast, a blood-red soul power soared into the sky. She was like a blood-red war god as she slashed at Yi Chenfeng with her dragon head broadsword. Seeing the dragon head broadsword slashing through the air, Yi Chenfeng did not dodge. He took a step forward and met the attack with his jasper sword. Clang! The two earthly artifacts collided. Yi Chenfeng's 130,000 gene of strength erupted. The terrifying attack instantly blocked Zhang Xingyue's all-out attack. A large amount of energy spread out in all directions, causing the air to tremble violently. After a head-on collision, both of them increased their soul power and raised their speed to the peak. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. After images of their speed fiercely repulsed each other. Their rapid speed was dazzling. Although Zhang Xingyue's cultivation level was far higher than Yi Chenfeng's, Yi Chenfeng relied on the mid-grade earthly artifact, the 130,000 gene of strength, and the terrifying sword aura to make up for the difference in cultivation level. He suppressed Zhang Xingyue's attack. Mountain and river saber technique. Zhang Xingyue's expression turned extremely ugly when his attack was suppressed. He roared, and the muscles on his right arm bulged. His veins popped out as he executed the strongest soul skill he knew. He slashed at Yi Chenfeng one after another ferocious saber light after another. Every saber or slash was like a surging river, causing mountains and rivers to collapse. Dozens of saber lights converged, and the waves were turbulent and endless. The terrifying power was enough to shatter one's courage. Instant kill sword. Enveloped by Zhang Xingyue's mountain and river saber technique, Yi Chenfeng's expression did not change. Four sword auras burst forth, and his arm fused with the jasper sword. He thrust out a sword light that cut through the void. It was like a shooting star in the dark night sky, colliding with the turbulent saber light. The sound of cloth being torn could be heard. The continuous mountain and river saber technique was torn apart by Yi Chenfeng's sword. The sword light was so fast that it could not be seen by the naked eye, and it pierced towards Zhang Xingyue's chest. Bang! A shattering sound could be heard. Zhang Xingyue's body was pierced by Yi Chenfeng's instant-kill sword. The protective amulet that he had refined into his body was shattered, and he forcefully blocked Yi Chenfeng's fatal attack. Sword aura, 5 heavens. After the instant-kill sword was blocked, Yi Chenfeng's body immediately surged with 5 sword auras and fused with the jasper sword. He increased the jasper sword's attacking power to the greatest extent. He wanted to forcefully pierce through the protective amulet and kill Zhang Xingyue. Mountain and river saber technique, gravity mountain saber. At the critical moment, Zhang Xingyue stimulated his body's potential. The moment the protective amulet shattered, he slashed out the 9th move of the mountain and river saber technique at Yi Chenfeng. The mountain-like sword light slashed towards Yi Chenfeng ruthlessly, blocking Yi Chenfeng's fatal attack. He retreated to the side of Stormy Valley in a sorry state. What? Zhang Xingyue lost? Witnessing the scene of Stormy Valley's leading figure, Zhang Xingyue, being defeated by Yi Chenfeng in just a few breaths, the disciples of Stormy Valley were all dumbfounded. Who else? After defeating Zhang Xingyue in the most domineering manner, Yi Chenfeng raised a sword with one hand and pointed at the people with ugly expressions as he said domineeringly. Fu Yue, who was in the crowd, looked at Yi Chenfeng, who was exuding a domineering aura that looked down on the world. Her deep eyes shone. Yi Chenfeng, are you challenging us? Yu Shanxian, who had a gloomy expression, deliberately provoked. Yu Shanxian, do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? Yi Chenfeng looked at Yu Shanxian with a sharp gaze and said with a murderous intent. When he met Yi Chunfeng's murderous gaze, Yu Shanxian felt like he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. All the hair on his body stood up. He pretended to be calm and said, "Yi Chunfeng, if something happens to me, don't even think about living. Yu Shanxian, I'll count to 3. If you don't get out of here, I'll definitely kill you." Yi Chunfeng looked at the timid Yu Shanxian and warned him coldly. "Yu Shanxian, let's attack together. I don't believe that we can't kill him with our combined strength." Jin Qingtian and the other Heavenly Fire Sect disciples stood beside Yu Shanxian and said, "Stormy Valley disciples, listen up. Follow me and kill this person." At this moment, Zhang Xingyue, who had stabilized her injuries, ordered loudly, "Thunderbird Mountain disciples, listen up. Kill this person with all your might." The leader of Thunderbird Mountain, Yang Bingfeng, shouted loudly. In an instant, Yi Chunfeng became the target of public criticism. Other than Fu Yue, everyone wanted to kill him and seize his treasures. Chapter 138. Kill! Zhang Xingyue roared, and the muscles on her right arm swelled. She held a dragon-headed broadsword and led a group of Storm Valley disciples to attack Yi Chunfeng with murderous intent. Once Zhang Xingyue made her move, Yu Shanxian, Yang Bingfeng, and the other Heavenly Fire Sect and Thunderbird Mountain disciples attacked Yi Chunfeng together. They wanted to kill him as soon as possible and snatch his treasures. "Junior brother Yi, let me help you." Seeing that Yi Chunfeng was in danger, Fu Yue, who was like a dark elf, bit her moist lips. She used the second layer of her blade force and attacked the back of the crowd with the Blood Moon blade. Senior Sister Fu, seeing that Fu Yue still chose to help him in such a dangerous situation, Yi Chunfeng was very touched. However, almost all the disciples of the 3 major sects were as strong as her. She couldn't change the situation by herself. She was intercepted by a Thunderbird Mountain disciple and fought fiercely. Instant kill sword. Facing the attacks of Zhang Xingyue and more than 10 people, Yi Chunfeng didn't dodge. He pushed his sword force to the limit and turned into a rapid sword shadow to meet the attacks. Although Yi Chunfeng's attack power was terrifying, he still felt a lot of pressure when facing more than 10 genius disciples who were not much weaker than him. After a round of fierce attacks, Yi Chunfeng was forced to retreat. The blood in his body churned violently, and a stream of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. "Yi Chunfeng, you will definitely die today." Yu Shanxian, who was in the crowd, revealed a sinister smile. He knew that today was the best opportunity to kill Yi Chunfeng. If he missed it, he would be in a very dangerous situation. Mountain River Saber Technique. Thunder shaking the world. After jointly repelling Yi Chunfeng, Zhang Xingyue, Yang Bingfeng, and the others chased after him. The surging attacks enveloped Yi Chunfeng, leaving him nowhere to hide. Junior brother Yi. When Fu Yue saw that Yi Chunfeng was in danger, her heart started to panic. However, with her strength, there was no way she could save Yi Chunfeng. She could only watch as he was swallowed up by the sky, full of soul skills. Just as Yi Chunfeng was about to be struck by the soul skills unleashed by Zhang Xingyue and the others, a terrifying force suddenly erupted from Yi Chunfeng's body. Life Spirit Technique, burning 50 years of lifespan. At the critical moment, Yi Chunfeng used his greatest trump card. He used the Life Soul spell to burn 50 years of his lifespan to forcefully increase his strength. The lifespan of a Grade 4 Earthly Beast General was 310 years. Yi Chunfeng had burned away a sixth of his lifespan. It could be said that he was staking everything on this gamble. Boom! The 50 years of lifespan turned into life force and surged into Yi Chunfeng's body. An astonishing power erupted and instantly increased his cultivation by 2 small realms, allowing him to possess the strength of a Grade 6 Earthly Beast General for a short period of time. In the next moment, Yi Chunfeng, whose soul power had skyrocketed, unleashed his sword force level 5. He raised his physical strength to the peak and channeled the power of the mystic frost spirit water into his Jasper sword to unleash instant kill. TSK, a shocking sword light that was infused with sword force and frost cut through everyone's attacks. Under the horrified gazes of Zhang Xingye, Yu Shanxian, and the others, the sword pierced towards them. PFFF. A Thunderbird Mountain disciple couldn't dodge in time and was pierced by Yi Qinfeng's instant kill. His life-saving protective light was pierced through like tofu. His entire body was split into two, and he died. Senior Sister Fu, take this. After using instant kill to kill one person, Yi Qinfeng immediately took out a mid-grade, Earth-ranked black battle blade from his Chinquan bag and threw it to Fu Yue. After catching the black battle blade, Fu Yue's attack power increased greatly. Her ferocious attacks instantly suppressed the Thunderbird Mountain disciple, forcing him to retreat. Flowing Cloud Pierce, Wind Shadow Slash. After throwing the black battle blade to Fu Yue, Yi Qinfeng continued to attack. He unleashed the attack power of the Annihilation Sword art to the extreme and killed ferociously amidst the sword light. His shocking attacks made Zhang Xingyue and the others tremble in fear. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere. Yi Qinfeng used Wind Shadow Slash to break through the combined attack of Zhang Xingyue and the other 5 Storm Valley disciples. His body flashed and, strangely, turned into a white sword light. In the next moment, 2 pillars of blood spurted into the sky like a fountain. 2 Storm Valley disciples' heads were chopped off by Yi Qinfeng's instant kill. The protective talismans on their bodies didn't have any effect and were pierced through by the sharp sword force level 5. Black Frost Spirit Water, freeze. 2 of their companions were killed by Yi Qinfeng in an instant. Zhang Xingyue and the other 2 were so frightened that their faces turned pale. They hurriedly dodged, but the moment they dodged, a bone-chilling cold aura emitted from Yi Qinfeng's body and froze their bodies. Caught off guard, the 2 Storm Valley disciples were frozen by the cold aura released by the Black Frost Spirit Water. They turned into ice sculptures and were frozen on the spot. Although Zhang Xingyue relied on his amazing attack power to shatter the ice with one slash and escape, he was also frightened and had no intention to fight. Kacha! Yi Qinfeng's silhouette flickered, and with an irresistible force, his sword pierced through the bodies of the 2 Storm Valley's disciples, ending their lives. In just a few breaths, 4 of the 5 Storm Valley disciples were killed by Yi Qinfeng in an instant, leaving only the pale-faced Zhang Xingyue. Yi Qinfeng's tyrannical strength made Yu Shanxian and the others tremble in fear. This Yi Qinfeng is too strong. Let's go. After witnessing Yi Qinfeng's horrifying strength, Jian Qingtian and the others were really scared. They made a prompt decision to escape and leave the stone hall that was filled with the thick smell of blood. Yu Shanxian, where are you going? Yi Qinfeng said coldly. A light flashed under his feet, and he instantly turned into 4 afterimages, blocking Yu Shanxian, who had yet to recover from his shock. Yi Qinfeng, I advise you not to mess around. If you dare to hurt me, Elder Yu and my grandfather will not let you go. Feeling the intense killing intent from Yi Qinfeng, Yu Shanxian's face turned pale. He had no choice but to use Son of the Netherworld and his grandfather to intimidate Yi Qinfeng. Why are you scared? But it's too late. You will definitely die today. Yi Qinfeng was determined to kill Yu Shanxian, who had schemed against him time and time again. The jasper sword in his hand interweaved into streaks of sharp sword light, cutting through the air and piercing towards Yu Shanxian's body. Purple Cloud, Soul Petrifying Spear. Facing Yi Qinfeng's fatal attack, Yu Shanxian immediately spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. He activated his potential and stabbed out with the Soul Petrifying Spear, trying to force Yi Qinfeng back and take the opportunity to escape. Flowing Cloud Pierce. Yi Qinfeng's jasper sword spun in a circle. The flowing cloud sword light, which was filled with 5 sword forces, broke through the soul petrifying spear and pierced the tip of the purple cloud spear, knocking it out of Yu Shanxian's hand. Yi Qinfeng, don't kill me. As long as you are willing to let me go, I'm willing to agree to any of your conditions. After losing his weapon, Yu Shanxian was scared out of his wits. His body seemed to have gone crazy as he trembled uncontrollably. He did not care about his dignity and begged Yi Qinfeng to let him go. When Jian Qingtian and the others saw that Yu Shanxian was in danger, Not only did they not save him, but they took the opportunity to escape from the stone hall. Yi Qianfeng was not moved by Yu Shanqian's begging. The jasper sword in his hand turned into a stream of light and pierced through Yu Shanqian's head. Bang! Yu Shanqian's head exploded. His corpse, which was spurting blood, fell into a pool of blood. After witnessing Yi Qianfeng kill Yu Shanqian, Zhang Xingyue, Yang Bingfeng, and the others were scared out of their wits. They quickly fled from the stone hall. Chapter 139. Senior Sister Fu, thank you. Thank you for helping me deal with them. As thanks, I'll give you this mid-grade earth weapon saber. After everyone escaped, Yi Qianfeng let out a long sigh of relief. He looked at Fu Yue, who was dressed in black, and said softly, Junior Brother Yi, have you thought about the consequences of killing Yu Shanxian and the rest? If the people outside know that you killed them, they will not let you go. Fu Yue did not stand on ceremony with Yi Qianfeng and accepted the black saber. However, her delicate face showed a trace of worry as she said softly, Of course, I know the consequences of killing them. But Senior Sister Fu, have you thought about it? Even if I let Yu Shanxian go, with his character, he will not let it go. So, whether I kill them or not, the result will be the same. Yi Qianfeng said slowly, Sigh. Then how are you going to deal with the crisis outside? The elders of the three sects are all high-level heavenly beast immortals. Fu Yue sighed softly. After seeing Yi Qianfeng's talent, she did not want Yi Qianfeng to die so early. Don't worry, senior sister. I'm tough. I won't die so early. Yi Qianfeng said with a faint smile. Under the threat of the experts of the three sects, he was ready to risk everything and accept the inner hall assessment as a final gamble. Buzz! A piercing sword sound rang out. Yi Qianfeng swung his sword. The sharp sword light broke through the white light and obtained the mid-grade earth weapon giant axe. What's wrong? The moment the third ball of light disappeared, the spacious stone hall suddenly surged with wind and clouds. Endless power gathered in the center of the stone hall, converging into a black vortex. Could that black vortex be the passage to the inner hall? Looking at the black vortex not far away, Yi Qianfeng and Fu Yue immediately rushed over. They stood under the black vortex and felt a majestic power surging out of the vortex. Junior Brother Yi, be careful, Fu Yue reminded softly. Her graceful body flew into the air like a saber. She blended with the second heaven of saber aura and rushed toward the black vortex. Rumble! The moment Fu Yue came into contact with the black vortex, an endless amount of energy gushed out of the vortex. It was like a reverse tide, slamming heavily into Fu Yue's body. It shattered the second heaven of sword force and blasted her to the ground from midair. Senior Fu, looking at Fu Yue, who was spitting out blood and falling from midair, Yi Qianfeng lightly tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and turned into an afterimage. Before she hit the ground, he caught her hot body. Senior Fu, are you all right? Yi Qianfeng looked at Fu Yue, whose face was pale and whose mouth was bleeding, and asked with concern. I'm fine. Fu Yue struggled out of Yi Qianfeng's embrace and shook her head. Senior Fu, I'll give you this middle-rank earth weapon giant axe. When you leave the true spirit secret realm, give this giant axe to Hulm Master Swordsmanship. Then put all the blame on me. This way, you'll be fine. Yi Qianfeng knew that there was a slim chance of survival in the inner palace assessment. He did not want Fu Yue to be implicated by him. So, he took out the precious giant axe from his heaven-earth bag and gave it to Fu Yue. Junior Brother Yi, seeing Yi Qianfeng's determined eyes, Fu Yue had a premonition. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, Yi Qianfeng's body shot into the sky. He easily passed through the black vortex and disappeared from the spacious stone palace. After about half an instant's time, the black light in front of Yi Qianfeng's eyes disappeared. He found himself in an ancient divine palace. The ceiling of the palace was like a starry sky, dotted with stars. The walls of the palace were engraved with a large number of ancient totems. In the middle of the palace, there was a white staircase. On the staircase, there were a few white skeletons that had been dead for God knows how long. On the side of the staircase, there were 108 extremely sharp, 3-meter-tall stone swords that pierced through the sky. At the top of the staircase, there was a human statue wearing golden armor and black boots. It was holding a sword with one hand and had its eyes closed. Although the statue did not reveal any aura, Yi Chunfeng could feel his soul trembling when he first saw it. It was as if it was a part of the world. Just by standing there, it gave people a sense of majesty. "You're here." Just as Yi Chunfeng was sizing up the golden-armored statue from afar, an ancient, deep voice suddenly rang out. The golden-armored statue seemed to have a life of its own as it suddenly opened its eyes. A powerful force was awakened within the statue. "Senior, are you the guardian of the inner palace assessment?" Yi Chunfeng bowed to the golden statue and asked respectfully. "Yes, I am the guardian of the inner palace." "Junior, you have passed the sword steel assessment and are qualified to take the inner palace assessment. Are you ready?" The eyes of the golden-armored statue flickered with a piercing light. It looked down at Yi Chunfeng and asked in a deep voice. "This junior is already prepared." Yi Chunfeng nodded his head and said with a firm tone, "Good. Before you take the inner palace assessment, you must first pass through the 100 sword steps and take the assessment. If you're unable to pass through the steps and see my real body, then you will have the same fate as them. You will die here forever. Also, you only have 2 hours to pass through the 100 sword steps. Once the time is up, you will fail the assessment and die." The golden statue said without a trace of emotion. "Junior, can I start now?" Yi Chunfeng already had no way out. If he couldn't pass the inner palace exam and obtain the inheritance of the true spirit realm, then when he left the true spirit realm, he would definitely be surrounded and killed by the experts of the 3 sections. Therefore, the inner palace exam was his only chance. "Sure, good luck." After that, the golden statue's sharp eyes lost their luster and stopped moving. Humph! Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and silently channeled the 6 Meridian God Gang. He raised his physical strength to the peak and stepped onto the first step of the white jade steps. In the next moment, he felt the endless sword aura from the 108 stone swords, covering the entire space. The terrifying sword aura was like 10,000 swords piercing through his heart and piercing into his body, making him feel as if his liver and gallbladder were being torn apart. However, after 3 breaths, Yi Chunfeng, who was pale without a trace of blood, took the second step against the terrifying sword aura and stepped onto the second step. Not bad, not bad. This young man indeed has an unyielding heart. In 3 breaths, he was able to dispel the fear of 10,000 swords piercing through his heart. He is much stronger than the previous few. Just as Yi Chunfeng was ascending the stairway of 100 swords, a man who looked somewhat similar to the golden-armored statue appeared from the statue and floated in midair. His eyes, which were as deep as the sea, revealed traces of anticipation. Beside him, there was a blood-red light spirit floating. This blood-red light spirit was the tablet spirit that had sent Yi Chunfeng into the inner palace. "Lord True Spirit, do you think he has a chance to pass the inner palace assessment and become the inheritor of the spirit clan?" the tablet spirit asked respectfully. "If you want to pass the inner palace's assessment, it's not enough to have a firm and unyielding heart. He also needs to possess extraordinary talent, absolute strength, shocking comprehension, and great luck. Otherwise, he won't be able to pass the inner palace's assessment and become the successor of our spirit tribe. Let's wait until he passes the 100 sword steps," the true spirit said slowly. Chapter 140. Sword Form 5 Layered Heavens Break. After suddenly being attacked by the shocking sword beam, Yi Chunfeng's body immediately surged with 5 layered sword forms, forming a shocking light sword that slashed forward. When the 2 sword forms clashed, they immediately set off a torrential air wave that caused the surrounding air to violently tumble. After Yi Chunfeng released 5 layered sword forms, the condensed light sword resisted for 2 breaths before it was shattered by the sword beam that surged out from the stone sword. A lightning-like sword beam shot through Yi Chunfeng's body. PFFF. A bloody hole appeared in Yi Chunfeng's chest as large amounts of blood flowed out uncontrollably, dyeing his clothes red. As expected, the sword beam condensed from a stairway of 100 swords is not something I can resist. With his chest pierced, Yi Chunfeng quickly circulated the soul, devouring art to stabilize his injuries and repair them. Fortunately, the 5-layered sword forms had weakened most of the stone sword beam's power. He had also cultivated the 6-meridian divine shield to the muscle refinement realm, so his body's recovery ability was very strong. In just 10 breaths, he stabilized his injuries and stepped onto the 3rd step. What powerful recovery ability! It seems like he has a chance of passing the stairway of 100 swords. When the true spirit saw Yi Chunfeng's chest recovering at an astonishing speed, its eyes that were as deep as the sea shot out beams of light. Whoa! After stepping onto the 3rd step, Yi Chunfeng was attacked by the terrifying sword beam again. The light sword formed by the 5-layered sword forms was shattered, and his chest was pierced through once again. Although his body was heavily injured again, Yi Chunfeng did not stop. He endured the immense pain coming from his chest and stepped onto the 4th step with a resolute gaze. His body was constantly attacked by the stone sword forms, and Yi Chunfeng's injuries were getting more and more serious. The blood that flowed out from his body had already dyed his clothes red. However, Yi Chunfeng did not stop. He continued to release the 5-layered sword forms to weaken the stone sword's attacks. He endured the pain of the sword beam piercing through his body and climbed up the 8th step before finally stopping. He silently closed his eyes and circulated the soul, devouring art, to quickly heal his injuries. At the same time, he controlled the god-devouring brain to deduce the sword force of the stone sword and deepen his understanding of the sword force. Yi Chunfeng had a feeling that if his understanding of sword force increased to the next level and reached the 6th level of sword force, he would be able to withstand the stone sword's sword force attack and pass through the staircase of 100 swords to reach the golden armored statue. Time ticked by. With the God-Eater brain's analysis, Yi Chunfeng's comprehension of the sword force grew deeper and deeper. Nearly an hour had passed. What's wrong with him? Why isn't he moving? Did he forget that there's a time limit to the 100 sword steps? Once the time is up, he will be killed by the 100 sword steps. The monument spirit looked at the motionless Yi Chunfeng and said somewhat anxiously, "He seems to be comprehending the sword force." The true spirit's eyes flickered as it said, "However, to raise his sword force to the 6th level in such a short period of time is as difficult as ascending to the heavens." When more than half an hour had passed, Yi Chunfeng, who was meditating, finally woke up from his epiphany. 2 sharp sword beams shot out from his opened eyes. I wonder how many steps I can climb in one go with my current comprehension of sword force. Yi Chunfeng knew that he didn't have much time left. He pushed his sword force to the limit and stepped onto the 9th step. Boom! The 2 sword forces collided as cracks appeared. The 2 sword forces clashed for 5 seconds before shattering at the same time, turning into a large number of sword beam fragments. Among them, a very small number of sword light shards entered Yi Chunfeng's body, injuring him. However, compared to the injuries caused by the sword beam, the injuries caused by the sword beam fragments were almost negligible. Yi Chunfeng carried the powerful sword force of the 5th level and stepped onto the 10th step. Yes, sword force of the 5th level has reached the phenomenal success stage. Upon sensing Yi Chunfeng's sword force of the 5th level, the true spirit's calm face finally revealed a strange expression. It realized that Yi Chunfeng was far more terrifying than it had imagined. 11th step, 12th step, 13th step. Under the protection of the 5th level of the phenomenal success stage, the pressure on Yi Chunfeng lessened. He quickly climbed the white jade stairs, and soon, the injured him reached the 48th step. At that moment, 3/4 of the time had passed. Yi Chunfeng only had half an hour left. However, Yi Chunfeng stopped at that moment and continued closing his eyes. As he circulated the soul-devouring art to heal his injuries, he controlled the god-devouring brain to deduce the stone sword force. He has another epiphany. He really can keep his composure. The monument spirit said with a wry smile when it saw Yi Chunfeng enter the ethereal state again. This young man is not simple. Perhaps he really has a chance of obtaining the inheritance of our spirit tribe, the true spirit said slowly. There was a hint of anticipation in its voice. After another 20 minutes, just as the 2 hours were about to end, a powerful sword force suddenly surged out of Yi Chunfeng's body. It rushed into the void formed by the sword force, stirring up ripples in the void. Sword force of the 6th level. I have finally comprehended the 6th level of sword force. Feeling the transformation of the sword force in his body, Yi Chunfeng revealed a faint smile. A surge of fighting spirit erupted from his body. Sword force of the 6th level. It seems like the 100 sword stairs is no longer a problem for him, the true spirit said calmly as it looked at Yi Chunfeng's surging sword force. When he broke the sword steel yesterday, he had only comprehended the 4th heaven of sword force. In just one day, he raised his sword force to the 6th heaven. This kind of talent is rare even in the original spirit tribe, the stone steel spirit praised. Not bad. This young man's talent is indeed terrifying. However, to obtain the inheritance of our spirit tribe, he still needs great luck. However, from his performance just now, he should have a 10% chance of obtaining the inheritance of our spirit tribe. The true spirit nodded and said, Sword force of the 6th level break. After stepping onto the 49th step, Yi Chunfeng immediately controlled the height of the 6th level of sword force. He broke the stone sword force with one strike, and his body did not suffer any damage. The 50th step, the 51st step, the 52nd step. Under the attack of sword force 6 layered heavens, the 100 sword stair did not pose any threat to Yi Chunfeng at all. Yi Chunfeng climbed the stairs at an extremely fast speed. In merely 5 minutes, he had climbed to the 99th step. Phew, I finally reached the last step. Yi Chunfeng looked at the 100 sword stairs that surrounded the 9 stone swords. He did not blindly step onto it. Instead, he stood on the 99th step and circulated the soul-devouring art to recover his exhausted soul power. He was prepared to climb the 100 sword stairs in his best condition to withstand the final attack of the 100 sword stairs. About 5 minutes later, Yi Chunfeng, who had adjusted himself to his best condition, stepped onto the 100 sword stairs. Buzz, 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 9 ear-piercing sword sounds rang out. 9 sharp sword beams broke through the 9 stone swords at the same time. It was like a rain of swords. They drew out a blinding white light and shot towards Yi Chunfeng. Sword force of the 6th level break. Yi Chunfeng's pupil shrank. The terrifying 6th level of sword force gushed out from his body. It carried a shocking destructive power as it slashed at the 9 sword beams. Rumble. A series of deafening explosions rang out. The terrifying sword force clashed fiercely on the 100 sword stairs. The 9 sword beams resisted for 10 breaths of time before they were finally broken by Yi Chunfeng's 6th level of sword force. They disappeared into the void. Chapter 141. I'm the guardian of the true spirit's secret realm. You can call me True Spirit. A rare smile appeared on the true spirit's face as it said in a deep voice, Congratulations on passing the 100 sword steps. Thank you, Senior True Spirit. By the way, Junior, we still don't know your name. The tablet spirit asked in a low voice as it looked at Yi Chunfeng with approval. My name is Yi Chunfeng. Yi Chunfeng was not surprised to see the tablet spirit here. He reported his name respectfully. Yi Chunfeng, your perseverance, talent, and comprehension are the best I've ever seen. However, it's still far from enough to pass the ultimate test and inherit the spirit tribe's inheritance. Now, let me explain the 3 tests in detail to you. The first test is a test of strength. The test will last for 1 month. When the time comes, I'll send you to a gravitational space. If you can break the gravitational space within a month, you'll pass the test. If you can't break the gravitational space within a month, you'll be crushed to death by the gravitational force. Also, in the gravitational space, you won't be able to use any weapons. You can only rely on your own strength to break the spatial boundary. If you pass the test, I'll give you a reward. The True Spirit's secret realm explained in detail. Break the spatial boundary. Although Yi Chunfeng had expected the ultimate test to be difficult, he did not expect the first test to be breaking the spatial boundary. The second test is a test of comprehension. You'll need to comprehend a mid-grade Dao skill hidden in a Dao tablet within a month. You'll have to comprehend the first move and break the spatial boundary. If you fail, you'll die. The True Spirit's secret realm continued. Comprehend a mid-grade Dao skill. After knowing the second test, Yi Chunfeng could not help but gasp. Dao skills were soul skills that were above heavenly skills. They were only legends. If Dao skills appeared in the Duhan continent, it would set off a bloody storm. More importantly, it was said that Dao skills contain the power of the great Dao. In order to comprehend a Dao skill, one must first comprehend the great Dao concept contained in it. This was undoubtedly more difficult. Senior, may I know what the third test is? Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and calmed his mind before asking. The third trial is a test of life and death. You will be tested by the sword puppet. If you can withstand the sword puppet's attacks for 2 hours without dying, you will pass, the True Spirit said. Senior True Spirit, I wonder how strong that sword puppet is. Although it sounded like the third test was not that difficult, Yi Chunfeng knew that it was definitely the most dangerous one. Hence, he asked, the attack power of the sword puppet depends on your bone age. However, even the weakest attack of the sword puppet is equivalent to the attack of a peerless king of your world. As for the sword puppet's defense, not even the strongest in your world can break it, the True Spirit said slowly. Withstanding the attacks of a peerless king for 2 hours without dying. After learning about the third test, Yi Chunfeng suddenly felt a sense of helplessness. Not to mention him, even a peerless king wouldn't be able to withstand the attacks of a peerless king for 2 hours without dying. More importantly, the other party's defense was invincible. It could be said that the third test was almost impossible to pass. What's wrong, Yi Chunfeng? Are you scared? If you're scared, I'll send you out with the others when the True Spirit's secret realm closes, the real spirit said in a low voice as it looked at the silent Yi Chunfeng. No, I am willing to take the test. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and said firmly, if he was sent out of the True Spirit realm with the others, what awaited him would be death. There was no way he could escape the pursuit of the experts of the 3 sections. Rather than that, he might as well take the risk. All right, stand still. I will check your bone age and set the difficulty of the test accordingly. The True Spirit nodded and said after hearing Yi Chunfeng's firm voice. Buzz, buzz. Red light poured out of the True Spirit's body and surged into Yi Chunfeng's body to check his bone age. 17 years old. After about 2 breaths, the True Spirit dispersed the red light and said, not bad, not bad. With your bone age, you can take the lowest difficulty test. The sword puppet's attack will also be set the level of a rank 1 reverse beast king. All right, rest for a while. Let me know when you have recovered. I will send you to the gravity space. After about half an hour, Yi Chunfeng adjusted his body to its peak state and was sent into the great gravity space by the True Spirit. The pressure in the gravity space will increase every day. Remember not to waste time. Otherwise, the pressure will increase towards the end. The True Spirit, which was floating in the gravity space, reminded Yi Chunfeng as it looked at him with a serious expression. Thank you, Senior. Yi Chunfeng nodded and kept thinking of ways to break through the gravity space. Activate the gravity space. Seeing that Yi Chunfeng was prepared, the True Spirit activated the gravitational space. In an instant, a powerful pressure formed in the gravitational space, crushing down on Yi Chunfeng like an avalanche. Collapsing cloud palm. The first day of the gravitational space's heavy pressure was completely within Yi Chunfeng's tolerance range. He took a deep breath, dispelling the effects of the heavy pressure on his body, and sent a cloud-piercing palm strike at the gravitational space, bombarding the gray spatial barrier. However, the gravity space boundary wall did not even ripple after being attacked by the collapsing cloud palm. This made Yi Chunfeng realize how sturdy the gravity space boundary wall was. It seems that with my current strength, it is impossible to break through the gravity space boundary wall. The only thing I can do now is to break through to the rank 5 Earth Beast General Realm and cultivate the muscle-refining realm to greater completion. After pondering for a while, Yi Chunfeng took out the 10,000-year-old blood ginseng king he had obtained from the True Spirit's secret realm and swallowed it. Then, he used the soul-devouring art to refine it and break through to the rank 5 Earth Beast General Realm. The 10,000-year-old blood ginseng king had grown in the True Spirit's secret realm for several tens of thousands of years. The spirit energy it contained was extremely powerful. When it melted in Yi Chunfeng's body, it immediately turned into a large amount of spirit energy. Under the soul-devouring art's devouring, it crazily fused into Yi Chunfeng's body. Soon, a layer of bloody light formed around Yi Chunfeng's body, slowly enveloping his entire body. Roughly 2 days later, Yi Chunfeng had completely absorbed the 10,000-year-old blood ginseng king. His soul energy was almost brimming. He was only a step away from breaking through to the rank 5 Earth Beast General Realm. After refining the 10,000-year-old blood ginseng king, Yi Chunfeng took out the several spirit-grade soul pills he had obtained from the Storm Valley's disciples. He swallowed all of them and continued to refine and absorb them. Soon, Yi Chunfeng's meridians were filled with spirit energy. His skin swelled, and a tearing pain came from his skin. However, Yi Chunfeng was unmoved by this. He used all of his strength to cultivate the soul-devouring art and increase his soul energy. Chapter 142. Phew, I finally made a breakthrough. Breaking through to the next realm in 5 days was completely within Yi Chunfeng's plan. He silently circulated his soul power, which had increased by several folds, and stood up against the enormous spatial pressure. Then he once again struck the spatial barrier with his cloud-collapsing palm. Rumble! The spatial barrier trembled for a moment. Although the power of the cloud-crushing palm had increased by several folds, it was still unable to break through the spatial barrier. It only created a slight spatial ripple. Sigh, this spatial barrier is too sturdy. It seems like I can only place my hopes on the 2 ghost-face weeping heart fruits. Otherwise, I might really die here. As Yi Chunfeng looked at the spatial barrier rippling, he sighed softly. Then, he took out the ghost-face crying heart fruit that was sealed in his universe pouch and continuously gave off a ghostly sobbing sound. Although the ghost-face weeping heart fruit was a divine item, it contained a terrifying demonic nature. If a person without intelligence were to consume it, they would immediately lose their sense of self and be controlled by the ghost-face weeping heart fruit. They would become a walking corpse. Ghost-face weeping heart fruit, it's all up to you. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and spat out a ray of soul light. It wrapped around the ghost-face weeping heart fruit and swallowed it directly into his stomach. He circulated the soul-devouring art to refine it. Boom! A berserk energy burst out from Yi Chunfeng's body and filled his entire body in an instant. It tore apart all the meridians and blood vessels in his body. A large amount of blood flowed out uncontrollably from his body. Facing this kind of wanton destruction to the body, an ordinary person would have already died. However, Yi Chunfeng relied on his powerful physical strength and willpower to withstand it. He circulated the 6-meridian divine shield over and over again to refine his severely damaged meridians. This state was maintained for half a minute before the demonic nature of the ghost-face weeping heart fruit erupted. Roar! The rolling demonic sound was like a clap of thunder from the 9th heaven. It exploded in Yi Chunfeng's body. The terrifying sound shook Yi Chunfeng's eardrums, and a large amount of blood flowed out. How can the demonic nature of this ghost-face weeping heart fruit be so terrifying? Feeling the demonic nature released by the ghost-face weeping heart fruit rush into his mind like a surging sea, Yi Chunfeng was greatly alarmed and hurriedly guarded his mind. However, the 2 ghost-face crying heart fruits that Yi Chunfeng had obtained had been nurtured for too long, and the demonic nature they contained exceeded Yi Chunfeng's imagination, forming countless illusions in his mind. A boundless sea of blood surged, forming a rapidly spinning blood vortex. It released a powerful suction force, sucking Yi Chunfeng's soul, wanting to suck it into the blood vortex and devour it. Devour the godly brain, devour the demonic nature. Yi Chunfeng bit the tip of his tongue and tried his best to regain consciousness. He controlled the God-Eater brain to devour the large amount of demonic nature in his mind. Rumble, a gigantic brain, appeared above the sea of blood. It wriggled rapidly, and a terrifying devouring power surged into the sea of blood. After being devoured by the God-Eater brain, the demonic nature of the ghost face weeping heart fruit constantly resisted. Monstrous waves violently surged like giant hands that covered the sky, ruthlessly attacking the God-Eater brain. Every time the demonic nature of the ghost face weeping heart fruit collided with the God-Eater brain, Yi Chunfeng felt a splitting headache, as if his head would explode at any time. However, Yi Chunfeng's heart was firm. He clenched his teeth and bitterly persevered, enduring the double pain in his soul and body. He repeatedly cultivated the 6 meridians divine shield, tempering his meridians. After an unknown amount of time, under the crazy devouring of the God-Eater brain, the demonic nature of the ghost face weeping heart fruit became weaker and weaker. Finally, the strange sea of blood image in Yi Chunfeng's mind suddenly shattered, and a large amount of blood flowed out from his 7 orifices. Phew! The God-Eater brain has finally devoured the demonic nature of the ghost face weeping heart fruit. The most difficult thing to refine the ghost face weeping heart fruit was the demonic nature. Now that the demonic nature had been devoured by the God-Eater brain, the dispirited Yi Chunfeng ignored the damage to his soul and endured the huge spatial pressure. He controlled the spiritual energy of the ghost face weeping heart fruit and sent it into his meridians, wholeheartedly cultivating the 6 meridians divine shield. Although the process of tempering his meridians was still extremely painful, Yi Chunfeng had no way out. If he was unable to reach the large success realm of muscle refining and greatly increase his physical strength, then he would most likely die in this gravitational space. I can't give up. I must succeed. No amount of pain can hinder my growth. Yi Chunfeng tightly bit his lips, constantly encouraging himself, enduring the pain of tempering his meridians. Time passed day by day. Roughly 4 days later, Yi Chunfeng, who had been tortured to death by the ghost face weeping heart fruit, finally managed to refine the pure spiritual energy in his body into his meridians, reaching the small success realm of muscle refining. His pure physical strength had reached 50,000 genes. Phew! I've finally refined a ghost face weeping heart fruit and reached the small success realm of muscle refining. Yi Chunfeng let out a long sigh of relief. He took out a soul-returning pill from his spatial bag and swallowed it, adjusting his breathing to recover. Half a day later, Yi Chunfeng, who had recovered, took out a second ghost face weeping heart fruit and swallowed it without hesitation. Enduring the double pain of his soul and body, he continued to refine the pure spiritual energy contained in the fruit, tempering his meridians. Just as Yi Chunfeng was in the gravitational space, enduring the inhuman pain to temper his meridians, accumulating strength to break through the spatial barrier, a month had passed. A powerful teleportation force appeared in the sky of the true spirit's secret realm, sending Fu Yuiwei and the others to the outside world. It's been a month. Sky-bearing, Shan Xian and the others are finally coming out. I wonder how their harvest was this time. Dressed in a white robe, the sword hall master exuding a sharp sword aura looked at the black hole that suddenly changed, revealing a look of anticipation. They're out. Not long after, figures came out of the black hole one after another, landing on the damp swamp. After Fu Yue left the true spirit's secret realm, she first looked at the crowd but did not see Yi Chunfeng's figure. She was slightly worried for him. However, she was also aware of her situation. Taking advantage of the time when Jian Shengtian and the others were not out, she took out a middle-grade earth tool axe and went to the leader of the Heavenly Fire sect, the Sword Hall Master, and said, "Sword Hall Master, this is my harvest in the true spirit's secret realm, a middle-grade earth tool axe." Middle-grade earth tool. The hall leader of the Sword Hall raised his eyebrows, and a look of joy appeared on his proud face. He hurriedly took the giant axe from Fu Yoyue's hands. After confirming that it was indeed a medium-rank earth weapon, he asked, Fu Yoyue, what reward do you want? I wonder if Yu is lucky enough to become the Sword Hall Master's unofficial disciple. Fu Yue slightly revealed her second blade aura and said, Blade aura. While the Sword Hall Master was hesitating, he suddenly felt the second blade aura from Fu Yoyue's body. He raised his eyebrows, and his heart was in turmoil. Sword aura and blade aura were interlinked. Those who could comprehend blade aura were more talented than ordinary people, and their future was limitless. Thinking of this, the Sword Hall Master nodded and said, All right, I'll accept you as my unofficial disciple. In the future, you will follow me to the Heavenly Fire Sect's Sword Hall to cultivate. When you break through to the Heavenly Beast Immortal Realm, I'll accept you as my official disciple. Thank you, Master. Fu Yue secretly heaved a sigh of relief. With the Sword Hall Master's protection, she did not have to be afraid of Jian Qingtian and the others seeking revenge. No, Hall Master, you can't accept her as your unofficial disciple. Jian Qingtian, who had just left the True Spirit Secret Realm, heard that the Sword Hall Master wanted to accept Fu Yue as his unofficial disciple and quickly stopped him. Why? The Sword Hall Master did not know that Yushan Xian and the others had died in the True Spirit Secret Realm. He frowned slightly and asked in a low voice. Chapter 143. What? You said Shan Xian died? After hearing the news of Yushan Xian's death, a terrifying murderous aura exploded from Yu Mingzi's body. He stared at Jian Qingtian and asked loudly. Yes, Shan Xian was killed by Yi Qinfeng, and this Fu Yue helped Yi Qinfeng deal with us. Jian Qingtian couldn't bear Yu Mingzi's ferocious gaze and lowered his head as he spoke. Master, please believe me. Yushan Xian's death has nothing to do with me. Fu Yue looked at Yu Mingzi's terrifying gaze and quickly said, Qingtian, tell me what happened. How did Shan Xian die? Sword Hall Master's deep eyes shot out a sharp light as he questioned in a low voice. Yes, Sword Hall Master. Jian Qingtian's vicious gaze swept past the cold and beautiful Fu Yue as he recounted how Yi Qinfeng killed Yushan Xian and the others. Qinfeng actually killed Yushan Xian and nearly 10 disciples of the 3 major sections. After listening to Jian Qingtian's narration, Sword Hall Master and the others revealed a look of deep shock. They couldn't believe that Yi Qinfeng, who was only a 4th-grade Earth Beast General, had such strength. As for Qian Daobai, his heart was in turmoil. He was worried about Yi Qinfeng, who had yet to come out of the True Spirit's Secret Realm. Xingyu. Where are Xingyu and the others? Who killed Xingyu and the others? At this moment, the spatial black hole slowly shrank and finally disappeared above the 9 heavens. The Storm Valley Elder discovered that only 3 of the 10 disciples who entered the True Spirit Secret Realm had left the Secret Realm alive. His heart sank as he roared loudly. As for these 3 disciples, because of the distance, they didn't enter the ancient stone hall. Therefore, they didn't know the cause of death of Zhang Xingyu and the others. Elder Feng, Zhang Xingyu and the others were killed by a disciple of the Heavenly Fire sect called Yi Qinfeng. Our Thunderbird Mountain's disciples also died in his hands. Hearing the Storm Valley Elder's angry roar, the Thunderbird Mountain Elder, who had learned the truth from Yang Bingfeng, revealed it with ill intentions. What? Jian Yuan, your Heavenly Fire School's disciple is really daring to kill my Storm Valley's disciple. When the elders of Storm Valley learned that 6 of their disciples, including Zhang Xingyue, had died at the hands of Yi Qinfeng, they were all enraged. Killing intent surged from their bodies. That Yi Qinfeng is not a disciple of my Heavenly Fire sect. Yushan Xian, a disciple of my Heavenly Fire sect's Yinyang Hall, also died at his hands. I also want to kill him for revenge. Hearing Elder Feng's roar, Hall Master Jian said with a gloomy expression, Good. Then when he comes out, whoever dares to stop me from killing him will be irreconcilable with me. The furious Storm Valley Elder swore in front of everyone. Yu, the middle rank earth tool you gave me was given to you by Yi Chenfeng, right? Jian Yuan didn't pay any attention to the crazy Storm Valley people and asked in a low voice. Yes. Fu Yue nodded and answered honestly. Then tell me honestly, where did Yi Chenfeng go? Jian Yuan asked. He entered the inner part of the stone hall, but my strength is limited and I couldn't go in. I don't know if he's alive or dead. Fu Yue said truthfully. You still have a middle rank earth tool on you, right? Give it to me. Jian Yuan heard from Jian Qingtian that Fu Yue still had a middle rank earth tool and ordered loudly. Yes. Although she was reluctant, Fu Yue didn't dare to disobey Jian Yuan's order. She took out the black tool from her Cosmos bag and handed it to Jian Yuan. After receiving 2 middle rank earth tools, Jian Yuan's expression eased a little. He glanced at the cold and elegant Fu Yue and said, For the sake of these 2 middle rank earth tools, I won't be calculative with you. But if you dare to have anything to do with Yi Chenfeng again, don't blame me for being rude to you. Thank you, master. I wouldn't dare. Fu Yue nodded. She knew that she was out of danger. Hall Master Jian, do you think that Stone Palace is the one recorded in the ancient records that appeared in the true spirit realm thousands of years ago? Netherworld Child asked through voice transmission, his eyes glinting fiercely. It's very likely that it's the divine hall with the supreme inheritance. Jian Yuan nodded and said, Hall Master Jian, what should we do now? That kid is trapped in the true spirit realm. It's almost impossible for us to find him. Yu Mingzi asked with a frown. Wait, if he's lucky enough to survive, he'll definitely come out. Jian Yuan thought for a moment and said, He was greedy for the treasures that Yi Chenfeng had. The people from Skyfire Sect chose to wait in the Blackpool Swamp. The people from Storm Valley and Thunderbird Mountain didn't leave either. They waited patiently for Yi Chenfeng to appear. God bless. I hope that Chenfeng will be blessed and find another way out of the true spirit realm. Fu Yue, who was sitting cross-legged beside Jian Yuan, prayed for Yi Chenfeng in her heart. Spirit power, enter my meridians. At this time, Yi Chenfeng relied on his extraordinary endurance to control the God-Eater brain to swallow the demonic nature of the ghost face, crying heart fruit. He began to focus on refining his meridians. As he forced the spirit power of the ghost face, crying heart fruit into his meridians felt as if they were piercing his bones. All his muscles twitched. 6th stage of the muscle refinement realm, 7th stage, 8th stage, Yi Chenfeng endured the increasing spatial pressure. After bitterly cultivating for 4 days, he finally managed to compress all the spiritual energy from the second ghost face, crying heart fruit, into his tendons and meridians, reaching the 9th layer of the tendon refinement realm. His physical strength reached 180,000 kilograms. He was only a step away from reaching great accomplishment, which was 200,000 kilograms. The 6th meridian divine shield becomes more and more difficult to cultivate to the end. 2 ghost face, crying heart fruits are actually unable to reach the muscle refinement realm. Yi Chenfeng sighed softly. Although Yi Chenfeng still had a few spirit-level soul pills, the pressure in the gravity space was growing stronger and stronger. Yi Chenfeng's body was also growing heavier and heavier. After pondering for a while, he gave up on the idea of cultivating to the muscle refinement realm He prepared to attack the spatial world wall with all his strength. Yi Chenfeng sat cross-legged in place and silently adjusted his breathing for a while. He adjusted his body to its peak state and slowly stood up against the overwhelming spatial pressure. Cloud-shattering palm. Yi Chenfeng took a deep breath and fused all his body strength with his soul power, forming a shocking 250 gene of strength. He poured it all into his right palm and sent a palm strike at the sturdy spatial world wall. Rumble, an invincible, cloud-piercing palm light shot out. Wherever the palm light went, the gravity would explode and the airflow would surge. The palm light, whose power was compressed to the extreme, smashed heavily on the boundary wall of space, causing it to distort. After that palm strike, Yi Chenfeng sent out 3 more palm strikes, continuously smashing into the spatial world wall. Spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the spatial world wall. But before Yi Chen Feng could rejoice, the spatial world wall's cracks began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. The distorted space returned to normal. Damn it, it's still not enough. His physical strength had nearly doubled, but he was still unable to break through the spatial world wall. Yi Chen Feng couldn't help but become anxious. After a simple rest, Yi Chen Feng released 6 layers of sword energy. One hand interweaved with a world-shocking sword light. The other hand struck out with a cloud-shattering palm. He spared no effort in attacking the spatial world wall. Yi Chen Feng's left and right attacks were extremely terrifying, but the spatial world wall's toughness surpassed his imagination. Yi Chen Feng crazily attacked for an incense stick's worth of time. His soul power was nearly exhausted, but he was still unable to break through the spatial world wall. Chapter 144. Damn it, just how much power do I need to break through the spatial barrier and leave this place? Yi Chen Feng, who had exhausted himself, was panting heavily as he revealed a distressed expression. He felt that if this dragged on, the gravity of the gravitational space would exceed what he could endure. At that time, his strength would be greatly affected, and he would not be able to unleash his strongest attack. Looks like I can only make one last attempt. If I fail, I'm afraid I won't have another chance. Yi Chen Feng gritted his teeth and used his greatest trump card, the life spirit technique. In an instant, he burned 50 years of his lifespan. A large amount of life force fused into his body, instantly giving him the strength of a level 1 heavenly beast immortal. Yi Chen Feng took a deep breath. Facing the boundless spatial pressure, he soared into the air and quickly approached the spatial barrier. A huge blood egg appeared on his body, amplifying his soul power. Cloud-shattering palm. Yi Chen Feng roared. All the soul power and strength in his body were channeled into his right palm. An unparalleled palm light heavily bombarded the spatial boundary wall, causing the spatial boundary wall to distort. A large number of explosive sounds shook the sky like the roar of a tiger, lingering in the air for a long time without dissipating. Break! Yi Chen Feng took a deep breath and endured the immense spatial pressure. With an insufferably arrogant attitude, he violently bombarded the spatial barrier. He forcibly tore cracks in the spatial barrier and was about to break through it. However, at this moment, a terrifying gravitational force surged out from the spatial barrier that was about to shatter. It struck Yi Chen Feng's body like a heavy hammer, directly smashing him from mid-air to the ground, smashing a huge crater in the ground. How can this be? Could it be that simply breaking through the spatial barrier is not enough to leave this place? It could be said that in the previous round of attacks, Yi Chen Feng had used all of his trump cards. He was about to break through the spatial barrier, but he was knocked down by the force that surged out from the spatial crack. This made his heart sink to the bottom. Could it be that the method I used to break through the spatial barrier is wrong? This spatial barrier cannot be broken through with brute force? Thinking of this possibility, Yi Chen Feng suppressed the frustration in his heart and calmed down. With the help of the God-Eater brain, he released a powerful soul power into the gravitational space, which made him feel a little suspicious. Time flew by quickly. The pressure in the gravitational space grew stronger and stronger. However, Yi Chen Feng was like an old monk in meditation, sitting motionlessly on the spot. It's been 22 days. That Yi Chen Feng still hasn't broken through the spatial barrier. It seems like he's not the person our spirit tribe is waiting for. The tablet spirit knew that the closer he was, the more it was difficult to break through the spatial barrier. No, he still has a chance. Through the gravitational space, the tablet spirit had been observing Yi Chen Feng's every move. He realized that Yi Chen Feng had calmed down after using the life spirit technique on the 16th day. He guessed that Yi Chen Feng still had some tricks up his sleeve, but the time was not right. After another 3 days, when the pressure in the gravitational space reached a suffocating level, all of Yi Chen Feng's muscles trembled under the pressure. Suddenly, Yi Chen Feng opened his eyes. His eyes, which were as deep as the stars, locked onto a certain point in the gravitational space. Life Spirit Technique, 50 years of lifespan burned. Yi Chunfeng roared and burned another 50 years of his lifespan at all costs. He ignited the life force in his body and greatly increased his strength. After using the life spirit technique for the third time, Yi Chunfeng had burned 150 years of his lifespan. However, Yi Chunfeng had no other choice. He could only risk it all, or he would die here. Six sword force, break. An earth-shattering sword light spurted out from his body, slicing through the earth-shattering gravitational force and thrusting into the space barrier, like mercury flowing down the ground. Immediately, a series of energy ripples surged out, and a large number of small cracks appeared on the spatial barrier. As expected, this is the weak point of the spatial barrier. Seeing the small cracks on the spatial barrier, Yi Chunfeng did not hesitate. His entire body flew out like an arrow and penetrated the layers of pressure. He flew into the air. Soul power flooded into his right palm like a tidal wave. He blasted out a shocking palm radiance that wanted to shatter the sky. Cloud-crushing palm. The cloud-crushing palm radiance that was compressed to the extreme carried a shocking destructive power. It hit the weak point of the spatial barrier and blasted a huge hole in the spatial barrier. In the next moment, Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and passed through the spatial gap. He disappeared from the gravitational space and returned to the shrine. Yi Chunfeng, congratulations on passing the first round of the test. Looking at Yi Chunfeng, who had returned to the shrine, the true spirit revealed a rare smile on its proud face. It said in a deep voice, "This is your reward." As it spoke, the true spirit's right arm drew across the void and cut open the space of the shrine. A blood-red crystal that looked like it had a life of its own and a pair of dazzling golden wings flew out of the spatial gap and floated in front of Yi Chunfeng. This crystal has a drop of golden rock's blood essence sealed in it. This pair of wings is the wings of a level 9 heavenly beast, Golden Rock. The true spirit said slowly. Golden Rock's blood essence, Golden Rock wings. After knowing the reward for the first round of the test, Yi Chunfeng was pleasantly surprised. The Golden Rock was known as the bird of extreme speed. The blood of the Golden Rock flowed in its body. Legend had it that the Golden Rock could travel hundreds of miles with a flap of its wings. It was one of the fastest heavenly beasts in the Duhan continent. A level 9 heavenly beast, Golden Rock, was equivalent to a level 6 combat beast emperor. A Golden Rock of this level was definitely the most terrifying existence in the Duhan continent. It was difficult to even encounter one, let alone kill it. It could be said that the value of the Golden Rock's blood essence and Golden Rock wings was enough to shake the entire Duhan continent. Yi Chunfeng, don't be too happy. In fact, the Golden Rock blood essence was not supposed to be the reward for the first round of the test. However, my master thought that it would be difficult for ordinary people to refine the Golden Rock's wings, so he left a drop of the purest Golden Rock's blood essence. If you want to refine the Golden Rock's wings and make it a part of your body, you must first refine the Golden Rock blood essence and form a strand of the Golden Rock's blood in your body. Only then will the Golden Rock's wings not reject you, and you can refine them freely, the true spirit said. Senior, before I accept the second round of the test, can I refine the Golden Rock's blood essence and Golden Rock's wings first? In order to increase his strength, Yi Chunfeng planned to refine the Golden Rock's blood essence and Golden Rock's wings immediately to increase his life-saving trump card. Yes, the true spirit nodded and said, "Thank you, Senior." After thanking the true spirit, Yi Chunfeng sat cross-legged on the high platform and quickly entered the dark space. He quickly recovered the soul power that he had expended and adjusted his condition. After about a day, Yi Chunfeng had fully recovered his soul power. After adjusting his condition to its peak, he took out the crystal that sealed the Golden Rock's blood essence. Bang! Yi Chunfeng slightly exerted force with his 5 fingers and crushed the red crystal. He opened his mouth and sucked in the Golden Rock's blood essence that contained pure life energy. Chapter 145. The bright red Golden Rock blood essence flowed into Yi Chunfeng's body like a ferocious tiger that had been released from its cage. It exploded with shocking energy and rampaged through his body, damaging his internal organs and meridians. In the blink of an eye, large amounts of blood seeped out of Yi Qinfeng's pores. It was a horrifying sight. Fortunately, Yi Qinfeng had cultivated his 6 meridians divine shield to the great success realm. His internal organs and meridians were much tougher than an ordinary person's, so he was able to withstand the wanton destruction of the golden rock blood essence. Soul-devouring art refined. Yi Qinfeng clenched his teeth and relied on his inhuman endurance to withstand the intense pain in his body. He circulated the soul-devouring art over and over again to refine the violent golden rock blood essence and integrate it into his cells. Lord True Spirit, do you think he can refine the golden rock blood essence? The golden rock's blood essence contains the bloodline of the divine beast, the golden-winged great rock. An ordinary person might explode from the power contained in the golden rock's blood essence, the tablet spirit said as it looked at the pale Yi Qinfeng, who was in extreme pain. Don't worry, this Yi Qinfeng is far more outstanding than you and I imagined. He should have a way to refine the golden rock blood essence. The true spirit looked at Yi Qinfeng with deep meaning. It was looking forward to him even more. When the violent golden rock blood essence surged into Yi Qinfeng's heart meridians in an attempt to destroy Yi Qinfeng's heart meridians, the golden rock blood essence suddenly trembled as if it had discovered something terrifying. It was timid and wanted to quickly leave Yi Qinfeng's heart meridians. But in the next moment, the chaos divine wood that was parasitizing Yi Qinfeng's heart meridians sensed the existence of the golden rock blood essence. It suddenly extended a large number of roots and penetrated the golden rock blood essence, frantically devouring it. In less than 5 breaths, 90% of the golden rock blood essence had been devoured by the chaos divine wood. The remaining 10% of the golden rock blood essence calmed down and stopped its destruction. Under the soul-devouring art's refinement, it slowly merged into Yi Qinfeng's body. Yes, this is the power of chaos. The chaos divine wood had devoured 90% of the golden rock's blood essence and produced a strand of 5-color divine power. According to the God-Eater Brain's analysis, this strand of 5-color divine power was one of the most powerful forces in the universe, the power of chaos. Legend had it that the primal chaos force was the power left behind before the creation of the world. It was the source of all things, a power that only gods could control. I wonder if I can withstand the test of the sword puppet with this strand of chaos energy. With the help of the God-Eater Brain, Yi Qinfeng repeatedly sensed the primal chaos force. He felt how terrifying it was and revealed a look of pleasant surprise. There's something in his body that can restrain the golden rock's blood essence. The true spirit, who was waiting by the side, revealed a trace of surprise when it sensed that the golden rock blood essence had stopped devouring Yi Qinfeng's body. It seems that this Yi Qinfeng has many secrets on him. Perhaps he really can inherit our spirit tribe's inheritance. The true spirit thought to itself. The golden rock's blood essence contained a terrifying amount of energy. As the golden rock's blood essence continued to fuse into Yi Qinfeng's body, Yi Qinfeng's soul power rapidly increased and soon reached the point of overflowing. Rank 6 Earthly Beast General Breakthrough. Feeling that he could no longer suppress the increase in his cultivation, Yi Qinfeng allowed his soul power to break through the bottleneck and break through to the rank 6 Earthly Beast General. The moment he broke through, all the cells in his body became active and continuously fused with the golden rock's blood essence. In the end, 1/10 of the golden rock's blood essence fused into Yi Qinfeng's body and formed a faint golden rock bloodline in his body. Phew, I finally succeeded. After breaking through to the next rank and forming a golden rock bloodline in his body, Yi Qinfeng let out a long sigh and woke up from his cultivation. After refining the golden rock's blood essence, you only broke through by 1 rank? The true spirit knew that the golden rock's blood essence contained an enormous amount of energy. It couldn't understand how Yi Qinfeng, who was an earthly beast general, could only break through by one rank after refining and absorbing the golden rock's blood essence. The true spirit felt that Yi Chunfeng was hiding a great secret. Junior's body is a bit special, so the golden rock blood essence only increased my cultivation by one rank. Yi Chunfeng vaguely explained. All right, now that you have the golden rock's bloodline in your body, you only need to fuse your blood with the golden rock's wings in a moment and let the golden rock's wings resonate with your body. Then you'll be able to absorb them into your body and slowly refine them. The true spirit saw that Yi Chunfeng was intentionally hiding his secret and didn't continue to ask. It told Yi Chunfeng the method to refine the golden rock's wings. Yi Chunfeng simply adjusted his breathing for a while and took out the golden rock's wings, which had a wingspan of more than 3 meters. He bit his left and right index fingers and pressed them on the golden rock's wings, fusing large amounts of blood with the golden rock's bloodline into the wings. As Yi Chunfeng had only refined 1/10 of the golden rock's blood essence, the golden rock's bloodline in his blood was very thin. He couldn't connect with the golden rock's wings, even though he fused large amounts of blood into them. Fortunately, Yi Chunfeng's blood essence was very vigorous. He resisted the dizziness that appeared in his mind and continuously fused his blood into the golden rock's wings. After about 30 minutes, when Yi Chunfeng had lost nearly half of his blood, he finally connected with the golden rock's wings. With a thought, he absorbed the golden rock's wings into his body and circulated the soul-devouring art to slowly refine them. Yi Chunfeng, take a rest. I will send you to the second test location tomorrow. Seeing that Yi Chunfeng had successfully absorbed the golden rock's wings into his body, the true spirit said slowly, "By the way, Senior, I wonder if you can help me take a look at my spiritual beast? I really want to know what it is." Yi Chunfeng knew the consequences of failing the second test. He wanted to find out what his spiritual beast was before the test, so he softly asked the true spirit that had existed for a long time. "Sure." The true spirit nodded and said, "Buzz." With a thought, Yi Chunfeng's soul power surged out of his mind and gathered into a blood-red egg. "Egg, your spiritual beast is an egg?" The true spirit and the tablet spirit were surprised when they saw Yi Chunfeng's spiritual beast. They had never seen such a strange spiritual beast before. "Senior, can you see the true state of this blood egg?" Yi Chunfeng looked at the true spirit and the tablet spirit that were in deep thought and asked, "Yi Chunfeng, we can't see the true state of your spiritual beast just by looking at its appearance. However, I feel that this blood egg contains a lot of power. If it hatches, it should be a very high-level spiritual beast." The true spirit repeatedly sensed the blood egg and said, "How about this? If you can pass the third test, I will help you break through to the heavenly beast immortal realm. This way, your spiritual beast will mutate, and maybe this blood egg will hatch." "Thank you, Senior," Yi Chunfeng said gratefully. "Thank me after you pass the third test. If you can't, you will still die." The true spirit said without a trace of emotion. This junior understands. Chapter 146. Yi Chunfeng, are you ready? The true spirit stood in front of Yi Chunfeng and asked in a deep voice, "I am ready." Yi Chunfeng, who had completely replenished his blood qi, nodded and said firmly, "Good. I will now send you to the 3 cauldrons Forbidden Land. As long as you can comprehend the Tao skill on the stone tablet and break the 3 black cauldrons, you will be able to leave the Forbidden Land. Remember, the duration of the second round is also 1 month. If you're unable to comprehend the Tao skill on the stone tablet and break the 3 black cauldrons, you will be crushed to death by the 3 black cauldrons." After that, the true spirit's arm, which was wrapped in red light, gently waved and tore open the space, sending Yi Chunfeng to the location of the second round. These are the 3 black cauldrons that are suppressing the Forbidden Land. When Yi Chunfeng arrived at the 3 cauldrons Forbidden Land, he immediately saw the giant black cauldrons that were dozens of meters tall. The cauldrons were completely black and had a large number of ancient dark patterns engraved on them. They were inlaid with beast heads and exuded an ancient aura. When Yi Chunfeng saw the 3 black cauldrons, he felt a huge pressure. He could not imagine what kind of power would be needed to break these 3 mountain-like black cauldrons. 6th level sword aura break. Yi Qianfeng took a deep breath. 6th level sword aura gushed out from his body and gathered in his right arm. He slashed the void, and a shocking sword light pierced through the sky. It carried a powerful destructive force and slashed at one of the black cauldrons. An ear-piercing buzzing sound echoed in the air above the 3 cauldrons' forbidden land and did not dissipate for a long time. After being attacked by Yi Qianfeng's 6th level sword aura, the black cauldron did not leave any sore marks on its surface except for a loud noise. Yi Qianfeng's attack did not cause any damage to it. The tests of the true spirit realm are indeed more difficult than the previous one. To break the black cauldron, the amount of power required is definitely several times greater than breaking through the space barrier. After inspecting the sturdiness of the black cauldron, Yi Qianfeng didn't waste any more time. He directly went to the center of the 3 cauldrons' forbidden area, where the Tao tablet was more than 10 meters tall and had a surface as smooth as a mirror. He released his soul power and penetrated it. Suddenly, a large amount of white light appeared in Yi Qianfeng's mind. These white lights quickly gathered together, forming a mysterious mid-grade Tao skill cultivation chant. The 7 Swords of Judgment was a mid-grade Tao technique that contained the power of the Great Tao. They were divided into 7 styles: Extreme Frost, Thunder Devour, Waning Moon, Sun Eclipse, Sky Crumble, Destruction, and Judgment. When cultivated to the peak, one could unleash a power comparable to a high-grade Tao skill and destroy the heavens and earth. 7 Swords of Judgment. Just the name of this middle-grade Tao skill alone made Yi Qianfeng feel extremely domineering, as though he could dominate the world. After understanding the 7 Swords of Judgment, Yi Qianfeng calmed down and controlled the God-Eater brain to memorize the 7 Swords of Judgment. If he didn't have the God-Eater brain, Yi Qianfeng wouldn't be able to memorize the 7 Swords of Judgment cultivation chant in a month with just his perception. However, with the God-Eater brain, Yi Qianfeng only used half a day to memorize the 7 Swords of Judgment's cultivation chant. He started to understand the power of the Great Tao contained in the 7 Swords of Judgment. The power of the Great Tao. When Yi Qianfeng used the God-Eater brain's power to comprehend, he deeply felt the power of the Great Tao. The Great Tao gave birth to 1, 1 gave birth to 2, 2 gave birth to 3, 3 gave birth to all things. The Great Tao represented the laws of heaven and earth. With Yi Qianfeng's current strength, it was impossible for him to completely comprehend it even with the God-Eater brain. Fortunately, cultivating the 7 Swords of Judgment only required a very shallow understanding of the Great Tao. Then, one could transform the power of the Great Tao into the power of intent and comprehend the true essence of the 7 Swords of Judgment. After finding the direction to comprehend the 7 Swords of Judgment, Yi Qianfeng completely immersed himself in it. He controlled the God-Eater brain to deduce the power of the Great Tao and comprehend it over and over again. Time passed day by day as he continued to comprehend. At this time, outside the true spirit's secret realm, the experts of the 3 major sects who were guarding the Blackpool swamp gradually lost their patience. Hall Master Jian, another month has passed, and Yi Qianfeng still hasn't come out. Do you think he's already dead in the true spirit's secret realm? Netherworld Child, who was wearing a black robe and had a gloomy expression, asked Jian Yuan, who was meditating with his eyes closed. According to the ancient books of my Heavenly Fire sect, no one has stayed in the true spirit's secret realm for so long. There's an 80 to 90% chance that Yi Qianfeng is already dead. Jian Yuan nodded and said. Then, Hall Master Jian, is there a need for us to continue waiting? Netherworld Child asked. Yes, there's a need. We have to avoid the possibility of Yi Qianfeng coming out of the true spirit's secret realm with the supreme inheritance. Although the possibility is very small, we can't be careless. If he really comes out, the opportunity that he has is enough to raise the overall strength of our Heavenly Fire sect by several levels. How about this? Elder Netherworld Child, you and Elder Hua will continue to wait here. I'll take the middle Great Earth weapon and return first. But don't worry, you and Elder Hua will not miss out on the credit this time, Jin Yuan said after pondering for a while. All right, then Elder Hua and I will wait for another year. If Yi Chen-feng still doesn't appear in a year, then we'll return. Netherworld Child nodded and agreed. All right, disciples of the Heavenly Fire sect, heed my order. Quickly follow me, Jin Yuan said as he slowly stood up. Yi Chen-feng, did you really die in the true spirit's secret realm? Fu Yue looked at the spatial black hole and felt an inexplicable pain in her heart. Yi Chen-feng's figure appeared in her mind, and she couldn't get it out of her mind. The experts of the Storm Valley and Thunderbird Mountain who were guarding the side saw Jin Yuan leave with the Heavenly Fire sect disciples on the flame-winged windbirds, leaving only Netherworld Child and Elder Hua behind. They immediately communicated through voice transmissions. Soon, the experts of the two sects who had lost their patience left the two elders behind. The rest of them got on their own flying mounts and left the Blackpool Swamp. Time flew by, and 15 days passed in a flash. After 15 days of comprehension and countless deductions, the God-Eater brain finally captured a trace of the power of the Great Path. Although this trace of power was still very vague, Yi Chen-feng had already tried to cultivate the first move of the 7 Swords of Judgment, Extreme Cold, with the help of the God-Eater brain's powerful deduction ability. Extreme Cold, the power of the Great Path, evolved into the water concept. It transformed into a shocking sword light that instantly froze and destroyed everything. Water concept. The profound, cold spiritual water seems to contain the water concept. Perhaps with the help of the profound, cold spiritual water, I can speed up my cultivation of extreme cold. Yi Chen-feng was surprised. He cleared away the distracting thoughts in his mind and controlled the God-Eater brain to deduce the evolution of the Great Path. He tried to cultivate the first move of the 7 Swords of Judgment, Extreme Cold. Normally, only after breaking through to the Reverse Beast King realm could one peek into the power of the Great Path. However, Yi Chen-feng relied on the God-Eater brain to touch the mysteries of the Great Path and the concept. The Tao could be understood, but it couldn't be understood. The path of the Great Path could contain hundreds of Taos, and each one was endless. There were endless changes and endless Taos. Slowly, the power of the Great Path that the God-Eater brain deduced evolved into the water concept. Waves of surging waves came from Yi Chen-feng's body. Extreme cold. Feeling the water concept in his body getting stronger, Yi Chen-feng burst forth with the 6th heaven of Sword Force. With the power of the Sword Force, he forcefully activated the water concept and used extreme cold. Wang. A sword light condensed from the water concept gushed out from Yi Chen-feng's body. It carried with it a sharp chill as it chopped towards a black cauldron the size of a small mountain in the distance. Chapter 147. It's cracked. Seeing the cracks on the surface of the huge black cauldron, Yi Chen-feng was pleasantly surprised. Although this crack only extended for slightly more than 10 meters and was negligible to the mountain-sized black cauldron, Yi Chen-feng was reassured. He continued to release the 6 tiers of sword force and activated his great Tao power to form the extreme frost sword radiance. Boom, boom, boom. Thunderous vibrations reverberated in all directions. Dense water ripples appeared in the air, causing Yi Chen-feng's soul to tremble. Large amounts of blood flowed out from his mouth and ears. His soul was injured by the sounds from the black cauldron. However, Yi Chen-feng didn't slow down his attacks. He continued to release the 6 tiers of sword force and forcefully unleashed extreme frost to attack the black cauldron. After repeated attacks, Yi Chen-feng's understanding of the 7 Swords of Judgment became deeper and deeper. However, the consumption of extreme frost became greater and greater. The surface of the black cauldron in front of him was also filled with sword scars. Large amounts of cracks extended in all directions. After about a day, the dizziness in Yi Chen-feng's mind became more and more serious. His soul power was almost depleted. He had no choice but to stop attacking. He sat cross-legged on the cracked ground and digested the enlightenment that he had just gained. Another 13 days had passed since he entered this state of enlightenment. There were only 2 days left before the 1-month deadline. If he couldn't break through the 3 spatial suppressing black cauldrons in 2 days, he would lose his life here. Just as Yi Chen-feng seemed to have forgotten about time and sat cross-legged on the ground without moving, an ear-piercing sword hum gushed out from his body. It pierced through the void and slashed at the spatial barrier, stirring up ripples in the air like a lotus flower. 7 swords of judgment, extreme frost. The moment Yi Chen-feng opened his eyes, countless radiances shot out. The sharp sword chi that gushed out from his body instantly gathered and turned into a huge sword that seemed to be condensed from ice. It froze void space and brought along the great Tao power. It heavily struck the cracked black cauldron. Rumble! The sturdy black cauldron was shattered by Yi Chen-feng's 7 swords of judgment's first style, extreme frost. The violent energy caused the void to distort, causing the earth to tremble violently. Phew! I finally shattered a black cauldron. Yi Chen-feng, who had comprehended 13 days of enlightenment and broken the black cauldron in one go, did not have any joy on his face. He fell from the sky and panted heavily. As the power of extreme frost increased, the consumption of his soul power also increased. With his current strength, he could only use extreme frost once before exhausting all of his soul power. There are still 2 days left. I don't have much time left. Yi Chen-feng glanced at the 2 towering black cauldrons that were suppressing space and immediately sat down cross-legged on the ground, seizing the time to recover his nearly depleted soul force. Shattering a black cauldron in 28 days? This speed is a little slow. The moment the first black cauldron shattered, the true spirit immediately sensed it. However, the true spirit was not satisfied with this speed. Lord True Spirit, do you think Yi Chen-feng can break the remaining 2 black cauldrons in the remaining 2 days? The monument spirit asked. It's very difficult. The true spirit shook its head and said, Sigh. With Yi Chen-feng's talent, given enough time, his future is limitless. It would be a pity if he died in the 3 cauldrons forbidden land. After seeing Yi Chen-feng's shocking talent, the monument spirit's love for talent was aroused. It sighed softly. This is the rule set by Master. I am powerless to change it. However, this is related to the inheritance of our spirit tribe. We cannot be careless. The true spirit said indifferently. Sigh, it seems like we will have to fall into a deep sleep again. The monument spirit sighed softly. They were not optimistic that Yi Chen-feng would be able to break the 2 black cauldrons in the remaining 2 days and pass the test. After half a day, Yi Chen-feng had recovered his depleted soul power and adjusted his body to its peak state. He came to the 2nd black cauldron and was ready to use the 7 swords of judgment to break the black cauldron. Huff! Yi Chen-feng took a deep breath, and the 6th layer of sword force gushed out from his body. In an instant, the sword light expanded greatly, and the endless sword light quickly gathered, forming a light sword that was filled with cold air above his head. The sharp sword force cut the air into 2 halves, and the ear-piercing sound of the sword rang out incessantly. 7 swords of judgment, extreme chill. Yi Chen-feng roared. The 6-fold sword force activated the power of the great Tao. He controlled the cold air and the light sword to slash down. The terrifying attack caused the heaven and earth to fall into darkness. Boom! The destructive extreme, chill, sword shadow slashed onto the black cauldron. The powerful force exploded on the surface of the black cauldron, causing cracks to appear on the black cauldron that was dozens of meters tall. The dark and oppressive repulsive force was like a dark and heavy cloud, dispersing in all directions. It didn't shatter. Yi Chen-feng originally thought that he could break the black cauldron with a single sword strike by using extreme chill. However, reality gave him a heavy blow, causing his heart to sink to the bottom. He didn't manage to break the black cauldron this time. Yi Chen-feng's time was very limited. He had less than a day left to recover his depleted soul power. I can't give up. There must be a way. Yi Chen-feng took a deep breath and cleared his mind of distracting thoughts. He sat cross-legged on the ground and quickly recovered his depleted soul power. When the last day arrived, Yi Chen-feng had recovered his depleted soul force. His entire body soared into the air as he unleashed his six-layered sword force and activated the power of the Great Tao. He executed extreme cold and bombarded the cracked black cauldron, shattering the second black cauldron in one go. Sigh, that Yi Chen-feng has shattered the second black cauldron. However, he has less than a day left. I'm afraid he won't have a chance. The true spirit sighed softly. It felt pity for Yi Chen-feng in its heart. The time left for Yi Chen-feng was getting less and less. However, there wasn't a trace of panic on Yi Chen-feng's face. He made use of the limited time he had to quickly recover his depleted soul power. When there was still 2 hours left before the 1-month deadline, Yi Chen-feng, who had completely recovered his soul power, stood up. His deep eyes stare at the last black cauldron. Success or failure depends on this. Yi Chen-feng took a deep breath and adjusted his body to its peak state. His body flew into the air like a sharp sword and stopped in midair. 7 swords of judgment, extreme chill, Yi Chen-feng shouted. His cold voice reverberated between heaven and earth. A sword that was filled with extremely cold air slashed down from the sky with the power of the Great Tao. It ruthlessly slashed at the last black cauldron. Countless cracks appeared on the black cauldron, but it didn't shatter. Primal chaos force, break for me. Yi Chen-feng used extreme chill. The instant he exhausted the last of his soul power, he used his greatest trump card. The primal chaos force nurtured by the primal chaos divine wood and shot it at the cracked black cauldron. Although this strand of primal chaos force was only the size of a cow's hair, its explosive power shook heaven and earth. When it hit the cracked black cauldron, it instantly exploded with a destructive power. When it shattered the black cauldron, it blasted a huge black hole through the space between the 3 cauldrons. Success. Chapter 148. Primal Chaos Energy? Why do you have the primal chaos energy in your body? Through the 3 cauldrons' forbidden land, the true spirit sensed the primal chaos energy that Yi Chen-feng released at the last moment. Deep shock appeared on its proud face. I obtained the primal chaos energy by chance. Yi Chen-feng purposely hid the existence of the primal chaos divine wood and explained vaguely. Extraordinary talent, absolute power, shocking comprehension, and great luck. Yi Chen-feng, you might be the person our spirit tribe has been waiting for. The true spirit's eyes shone brightly as it looked at Yi Chen-feng, who was hiding a great secret. It was as if it wanted to see through him. Spirit tribe? Senior, what race is the spirit tribe? Yi Chen-feng raised his eyebrows. This was the first time he had heard of the spirit tribe. Let's talk about it after you pass the last round. Although the true spirit thought highly of Yi Chen-feng, it did not reveal any important information in advance. Yi Chen-feng, this is your reward. A stone tablet with complete sword force and a low-grade celestial artifact, the gigantic fault sky sword. As he spoke, the true spirit's right hand, which was shrouded in red light, swiped across the void. A palm-sized stone tablet that contained a vast sword aura, as well as the gigantic fault heavenly sword that weighed 5,000 kilograms, flew out of the spatial crack and floated in front of Yi Chen-feng. Do you think the second round's reward is much worse than the first round's? The true spirit asked with a rare smile as it looked at Yi Chen-feng's expression when he received the sword 4-stone tablet and the gigantic fault sky sword. A little. Although the stone tablet with complete sword force was precious and the gigantic fault sky sword was a celestial artifact, compared to the golden rock blood essence and the golden rock wings, it was far less valuable. Actually, the most precious reward in the second round is not the sword 4-stone tablet, but the cultivation chant of the 7 swords of judgment. Mid-grade Tao skills are extremely rare in the heaven domain, let alone your fighting spirit continent. If you can comprehend the 7th move of the 7 swords of judgment, the power of your attack will be comparable to a high-grade Tao skill. With 1 slash, you can destroy the moon and sink the stars. Heavenly domain. Yi Qinfeng learned a lot of information from the true spirit that he had never come into contact with before, and a strong curiosity arose in his heart. All right, you have 3 days to comprehend the Sword Force Stone Tablet. Once the 3 days are up, I will send you to the final trial ground and accept the sword puppet's life and death trial, the true spirit said. Yes. Yi Qinfeng nodded and eliminated the distracting thoughts in his mind. He sat cross-legged on the ground and recovered his exhausted soul force as he released his soul force into the Sword Force Stone Tablet and comprehended the perfect sword force contained within the stone tablet. Sword scars. There are 10 sword scars in this stone tablet, and the sword force contained in each of the 10 sword scars increases in order. When Yi Qinfeng's soul power seeped into the Sword Force Stone Tablet, he discovered 10 sword scars of varying depths. Among them, the final pitch-black sword scar gave Yi Qinfeng a strong sense of danger. Buzz, buzz. When Yi Qinfeng's soul force seeped into the first, shallowest sword scar, he immediately felt an unparalleled sword force being released and permeating the Sword Force Stone Tablet. Yi Qinfeng had already comprehended the 6 heavens of sword force, so the first sword force wasn't of much help to him. The God-Eater brain only needed to deduce it once before he understood the true essence of this sword force and began to comprehend the second sword force. Lord True Spirit, what do you think Yi Qinfeng's chances of passing the final trial are? The tablet spirit looked at Yi Qinfeng, who was permeated with sword force that didn't dissipate for a long time, and asked, "This Yi Qinfeng is hiding too many secrets. He can actually use the chaotic force to attack. If he can still use the chaotic force when facing the sword puppet, then he has an 80% chance of passing the life and death trial. But if he doesn't have the chaotic force to protect him, then he only has a 30% chance of passing the life and death trial," the True Spirit said slowly. Lord True Spirit, I have a feeling that he might really be the person our spirit clan is waiting for, the tablet spirit said. Let's wait until he passes the final trial, the True Spirit said. And don't forget, the True Spirit's secret realm is only the first trial set by our spirit clan. If he wants to obtain the true supreme inheritance of our spirit clan, he still have a long way to go. A day passed by quickly. Suddenly, a sword force shot out from Yi Qinfeng's body and rushed to the top of the divine hall. After the first sword force, another sword force shot out from Yi Qinfeng's body and attacked the top of the divine hall. As the sword force continued to shoot out from Yi Qinfeng's body, Yi Qinfeng's understanding of sword force deepened. Finally, the sword force in Yi Qinfeng's body underwent a qualitative change, reaching the 7 heavens of sword force. In just one day, he managed to push his sword force to the 7 heavens. This Yi Qinfeng can really be called a genius. Feeling the changes in the sword force in Yi Qinfeng's body, the True Spirit couldn't help but praise. After another day, Yi Qinfeng's body suddenly emitted a loud sword cry. Dense water ripples appeared in the air around his body. A surge of sword force surged out of his body and pierced straight towards the roof of the palace, forcibly piercing cracks in the restrictions on the roof of the palace. 8 heavens of sword force. The True Spirit and the tablet spirit exchanged a glance and saw the deep shock in each other's eyes. They couldn't imagine that Yi Qinfeng, who was only an earth beast general, had such a monstrous talent. There is still one more day. I should be able to push my sword force to the 9 heavens. Yi Qinfeng calculated the time and continued to control the God-Eater brain to study the Sword Force Stone Tablet. When the 3-day time limit approached, the air around Yi Qinfeng's body suddenly began to flow rapidly, forming a large amount of opposing currents. Yi Qinfeng, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, was like a treasured sword that had been sealed for hundreds of years. As soon as it was unsheathed, it shocked everyone. 9 heavens of sword force, complete. Yi Qinfeng suddenly opened his tightly shut eyes. Boundless sharpness shot out, causing the void to tremble. After 3 days of studying, Yi Qinfeng borrowed the power of the God-Eater brain and finally comprehended the 9 heavens of sword force. His offensive power had increased by several times. Not bad, not bad. In 3 days, you have comprehended 3 heavens of sword force. Even in the spirit race of the past, your comprehension would be at the peak. The true spirit appeared before Yi Chen Feng and was not stingy with its praise. Senior, with my current strength, what are the chances of me passing the life and death trial? Although his offensive power had increased greatly, Yi Chen Feng knew that the gap between him and a peerless king was like the difference between heaven and earth. If you can use chaotic force, then you have at least an 80% chance of passing the life and death trial. However, if you cannot use chaotic force and rely on your own strength, then you only have a 30% chance of passing, the true spirit said. Only a 30% chance. Yi Chen Feng sucked in a deep breath as a trace of seriousness appeared on his face. If he could not pass the life and death trial, then all his efforts would be for naught, and he would lose his life as a result. All right, you don't have a way out now. Rest well. After 2 hours, I will send you to the final test location to accept the Sword Spirit Puppets test. The true spirit looked at Yi Chen Feng, who had a heavy expression, and said, Okay. Yi Chen Feng heavily nodded. He silently regulated his breathing and waited for the final trial. 2 hours later, a pitch-black spatial fissure appeared before Yi Chen Feng. When Yi Chen Feng passed through the spatial fissure, he entered a strange region of outer space. Above the starry sky floated a stern, expressionless man with a sword in his hands. Chapter 149. I am your opponent in this life or death trial. Based on your bone age, I will suppress my power to the level of a level 1 Beast King. You only need to withstand my attacks for 2 hours and not die. The sword puppet slowly walked in front of Yi Chen Feng and said emotionlessly, Also, when we fight, you can use any weapon you want. Okay, let's begin. Yi Chen Feng took a deep breath and summoned the golden rock wings that he had refined into his body. He planned to use the golden rock wings to increase his speed and delay the sword puppet. As soon as Yi Chen Feng finished speaking, the 6'6" light sword in the sword puppet's hand drew a strange sword shadow. It tore through space and slashed at Yi Chen Feng with a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. The moment the sword puppet attacked, Yi Chen Feng's sharp senses sensed danger. He reacted in advance. The golden rock wings on his back flapped violently, creating a gust of wind. He flew into the air and narrowly dodged the sword puppet's attack. Gigantic Sword of Heaven. Yi Chen Feng slapped his Qinquan bag. The gigantic sword of heaven and earth flew out and into his hand. At this time, the sword puppet slashed a second time. The sword light was as swift as lightning as it slashed at Yi Chen Feng. This slash was faster and more powerful than the first. It completely locked onto Yi Chen Feng, making him feel like he had nowhere to hide. He could only defend with all his strength. Sword form 9 heavens, instant kill. Yi Chen Feng didn't dare to use the 7 swords of judgment. He could only try to fuse the 9 heavens sword form into the gigantic sword of heaven and use all his strength to defend against the second slash. Boom! When the sword puppet's second slash struck the gigantic fault heavenly sword, the explosive force directly shattered the gigantic fault heavenly sword's 9 sword forms and over 200,000 Gena force. The gigantic fault heavenly sword was shaken off Yi Chen Feng's hand, and a large amount of blood spurted out from his arm. If Yi Chen Feng had not cultivated his 6 meridians divine shield to the 4th stage, this sword strike would have been enough to destroy Yi Chen Feng's arm. Too strong. This sword puppet's attack is too strong. If I get hit by it, I'll lose my ability to fight in an instant. Yi Chen Feng said with lingering fear. He did not have the time to pick up the gigantic fault heavenly sword. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Just as Yi Chen Feng was gasping for breath, the sword puppet's sword hummed loudly. 3 sharp sword lights were like 3 streams of light as they continued to chop down, sealing off Yi Chen Feng's escape routes. Life Spirit Technique, burn 150 years of lifespan. With his life hanging by a thread, Yi Chen Feng did not hesitate to burn 150 years of lifespan. A large amount of life force instantly filled his body, increasing his strength infinitely, allowing him to possess the strength a level 6 heavenly beast immortal for a short period of time. Although his strength had skyrocketed to the limit, Yi Chen Feng only had 30 years of lifespan left. However, In order to pass the test of the sword puppet, he could not care less. Swish! Swish! With his strength skyrocketing, Yi Chen-feng flapped his golden rock wings rapidly. In an extremely short period of time, he continuously dodged the 3 intersecting sword lights of the sword puppet and picked up the gigantic fault heavenly sword that had fallen into the starry sky. While he was dodging the sword puppet, the God-Eater brain was constantly calculating the trajectory of the sword puppet's attacks, trying to buy time. However, the sword puppet's attacks were erratic and had no trajectory to speak of. Yi Chen-feng could not grasp the trajectory of the attacks. Your speed is not bad, but if you want to dodge my attacks, I'm afraid it's not enough. The sword puppet's gem-like eyes shot out rays of light. The lightsaber in its hand slashed through the air, and a huge crack appeared in the starry sky. It was like the mouth of a demon, extending towards Yi Chen-feng at an extremely fast speed. Sword Force 9 Heavens. Yi Chen-feng knew that blindly dodging would not help. He had to weaken the sword puppet's attacks as much as possible in order to buy time, as much as possible. Swish! The sword light filled with the 9 Heavens sword force hit the sword puppet's sword shadow and shattered without any suspense. However, the 9 Heavens sword force still managed to slow down the sword shadow's attack by a fraction. Yi Chen-feng took advantage of this momentary delay. The golden rock wings on his back flashed violently, and he turned into a golden shadow to dodge the attack. In the instant that Yi Chen-feng dodged, the sword puppet launched another attack. The lightsaber slashed through the void, and a 100-meter-long crescent sword light, like a waning moon descending to the mortal world, viciously slashed towards Yi Chen-feng. This slash caused the entire space to become chaotic. It greatly slowed down Yi Chen-feng's flying speed, giving him a feeling that he had nowhere to hide. Yi Chen-feng had no choice but to clench his teeth and pour the 9 Heavens sword force, over 200,000 kilograms of strength, and the power of the profound cold spirit water into the gigantic fault heavenly sword, maximizing its offensive power to the greatest extent. Instant kill sword. Yi Chen-feng roared. His body fused with the gigantic fault heavenly sword, turning into an extremely thin white sword shadow. It was like a meteor that struck the crescent sword light. Rumble, a power that surpassed what Yi Chen-feng could endure, burst out. It was so strong that it shattered Yi Chen-feng's instant kill sword strike, which he had used to fuse the 3 great powers. A large amount of sword force broke into Yi Chen-feng's body, blasting him 100 meters away, and he fell into the starry sky. Blood flowed uncontrollably from his body. The terrifying sword force recklessly destroyed his body and surged towards his heart. At this moment, Yi Chen-feng could already smell the scent of death. At this critical moment, the parasitic chaotic divine wood in Yi Chen-feng's heart protected it, blocking the sword force's attack with layers of roots. Chaotic divine wood. Yi Chen-feng, who was covered in cold sweat, let out a long sigh of relief. If it weren't for the chaotic divine wood protecting his heart would probably have been pierced through. Even if he didn't die, his cultivation would be crippled. Yes, I didn't think that with your strength, you would be able to block my sword head-on without dying. The sword puppet looked at Yi Chen-feng, who was covered in blood and lying in space, and was slightly surprised. However, even with the chaotic divine wood protecting his heart, Yi Chen-feng wasn't confident that he could block the sword puppet's attacks for 2 hours without dying. At this moment, only slightly more than 10 minutes had passed. Let's see how many of my sword attacks you can block. The sword puppet's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Its entire body turned into a swift sword light, and with a speed that was several times faster than the speed of light, it pierced towards Yi Chen-feng. As the sword pierced out, a strange vortex appeared in the endless space. The entire space seemed to be swallowed by the vortex, and it was pitch black. Not good. Yi Chen-feng felt the approach of death from the sword puppet's sword. He didn't doubt that if he couldn't block this sword, he would definitely die. Golden rock blood essence, burn. Yi Chen-feng took a deep breath and burned the thin golden rock blood in his blood. He activated the golden rock wings fastest speed and quickly flew into the air, dodging the sword puppet's sword attack. explode. The instant Yi Chunfeng dodged, the sword puppet's sword slashed at the void. The powerful force tore a several hundred-meter-long sword scar in the void, stirring up an endless black storm and bombarding Yi Chunfeng's body. Golden rock wings protect. Feeling the terror of the black storm, Yi Chunfeng hurriedly controlled the golden rock wings in front of him to block the destructive power of the black storm. Chapter 150. Buzz. Buzz. Just as Yi Chunfeng's body was about to be shredded by the black storm, the amulet that Shui Piaoling had given him suddenly shattered. A strong defensive light shone from his body, forcefully blocking the attack of the black storm. It's that amulet. Looking at the defensive light around his body, Yi Chunfeng thought of the amulet that Shui Piaoling had given him. It could block an all-out attack from a master of the Xin Beast sect. If it wasn't for this amulet, the power of the sword puppet sword would have been enough to destroy his body and kill him. However, even if he survived under the protection of the amulet, he wouldn't be able to block the sword puppet's next attack. It was only a matter of time before he died. What should I do? Am I really going to die here? Looking at the near-invincible sword puppet that was stepping on the void and approaching him step by step, Yi Chunfeng felt a strong sense of helplessness. His heart sank to the bottom. Right, I still have a trump card that I haven't used. Perhaps this trump card can turn the tide. Just as the sword puppet's body shone with an invincible sword light, Yi Chunfeng's mind flashed. He suddenly thought of a trump card that could turn the situation around. And this trump card was the God Eater Brain Division, the Soul Eater Brain Division that could devour the consciousness of the brain. Success or failure depends on this. Yi Chunfeng took a deep breath and prepared for the final fight. If the Soul Eater Brain Division failed, then he would undoubtedly be killed by the sword puppet. 7 Swords of Judgment, Extreme Chill. In order to get closer to the sword puppet, Yi Chunfeng decided to attack with all his might. The 9 sword moves in his body gushed out and forcefully deduced the power of the great Tao, forming an endless chill that froze the vast starry sky. Slash! When the power of the great Tao reached its peak, Yi Chunfeng turned his body into a sword and forcefully slashed out the extreme chill sword light. It tore through the starry sky and slashed at the sword puppet. Break! The sword puppet looked at the frozen void and the extreme chill sword light that contained the power of the great Tao slashing at it. Its gem-like eyes shone with light. A shocking sword light pierced through the sky and slashed at Yi Chunfeng's extreme chill sword light. When the 2 sword lights collided, a huge wave was set off. The boundless power was like a surging wave that slammed into the starry sky, ripping it apart. Whoosh! When the 2 powerful forces collided, Yi Chunfeng endured the intense feeling of weakness in his body and controlled the golden rock's wings to flap furiously. He didn't care about the damage to his body and the huge risk, and took the risk to approach the sword spirit puppet. Die! Bathed in the storm, the sword spirit puppet was not affected in the slightest. When it saw that Yi Chunfeng dared to approach it, its bright eyes reflected a dense, killing intent. The light sword in its hand pierced towards Yi Chunfeng's chest at an extremely fast speed, wanting to pierce through his chest. Mind of the Devourer, devour! Seeing that Yi Chunfeng's chest was about to be pierced, Yi Chunfeng immediately dodged. However, the sword spirit puppet's speed was too fast. The sword aura condensed on the surface of the light sword still cut through Yi Chunfeng's body, almost splitting him in half. A large amount of blood spurted out like a fountain. The moment Yi Chunfeng's body was severely wounded, a beam of bloody light shot out from his mind and struck the sword puppet's head. The mind of the Devourer quickly wriggled into the sword puppet's head through its 7 orifices and began to devour his soul. Waves of terrifying soul energy exploded from the sword spirit puppet's mind, sending Yi Chunfeng, who was bleeding profusely, flying. Sure enough, the mind of the Devourer could devour the sword puppet's soul. Looking at the sword spirit puppet that was holding its head with both hands and letting out a painful roar, the severely injured Yi Chunfeng heaved a long sigh of relief. He tried his best to distance himself from the berserk sword spirit puppet so that he wouldn't be affected. I wonder if the mind of the devourer could devour the sword puppet's soul. If it fails, I'm finished. Yi Chen-feng used the soul-devouring technique to heal his injuries while looking at the roaring sword puppet from afar. He prayed silently in his heart. Time ticked by. The sword puppet clutched its head and roared for half an incense stick's time. The soul power released from its mind grew weaker and weaker. Gradually, the mind of the devourer devoured the sword puppet's soul and took over its brain, establishing a connection with the mind of the devourer. Phew, I finally succeeded. Yi Chen-feng heaved a sigh of relief when he sensed that the sword puppet had lost its own consciousness and was completely under the control of the mind of the devourer. His face was filled with excitement. At this moment, a crack appeared in the endless starry sky. A shocked true spirit appeared in the starry sky. It looked at Yi Chen-feng as if he was a monster and asked, "What did you do to the sword puppet? Why did Master's soul and its mind disappear?" Junior has a treasure that could devour souls. The sword puppet's soul was devoured by that treasure of mine. Yi Chen-feng vaguely explained. A treasure that could devour souls. The true spirit and tablet spirit were even more shocked. Senior, now that the sword puppet is under my control, does this mean that I pass? Yi Chen-feng looked at the true spirit and asked. Pass. Before the sword puppet could speak, a massive soul power appeared in the starry sky. It gathered into a giant meteor-like head and spoke in a deep voice. Master, looking at the giant head before them, the true spirit and tablet spirit were filled with excitement. They both knelt on the ground and bowed respectfully. As for Yi Chen-feng, he looked at the head that was emitting a terrifying pressure. His heart was in turmoil, and a look of respect appeared on his face. It's been more than 100,000 years. The treasure I left here finally has a successor. The eyes of the huge head, which were as deep as the stars in the sky, looked at the fearless Yi Chen-feng, who was enduring its pressure, and said with satisfaction, "Before I give you a reward, you need to answer a question of mine." "Senior, please ask away," Yi Chen-feng said in a tone that was neither haughty nor humble. "Accepting the inheritance of the Spirit Clan means that you will have to shoulder the blood debt of the Spirit Clan. This path of revenge is very likely a path of no return. Are you willing to embark on this path of no return and avenge the Spirit Clan?" The giant head asked. "Senior, may I know who the enemy of the Spirit Clan is?" Yi Chen-feng thought for a moment and asked. "You are too weak now. There is no need to know who the enemy of the Spirit Clan is. You only need to answer if you are willing to shoulder the blood debt of the Spirit Clan and avenge the Spirit Clan." The giant head said, "I am willing." Yi Chen-feng took in a deep breath, nodded, and said. The reason he agreed was not only because he had an inexplicable good impression of the Spirit Clan, but more importantly, the path of cultivation was a path of no return. A great opportunity was in front of him, and he could not give it up no matter what. "Okay, then swear to the heavens. After you swear, I will give you the most precious treasure in the true spirit realm," the giant head said in a low voice. "I, Yi Chen-feng, am willing to swear to the heavens that I will shoulder the blood debt of the Spirit Clan and kill the enemy." Yi Chen-feng nodded and swore to the heavens without hesitation. Chapter 151. Yi Chen-feng, before I give you the reward, I'll tell you who I am. My name is Ling Chutian, the spirit god of the Spirit Clan in the Heaven Domain. However, I've already fallen. What you see now is just a wisp of my soul. The giant head opened its mouth and spoke in a deep voice. Spirit God. After knowing the identity of the giant head, Yi Chen-feng's heart was in turmoil. Although he didn't know what the spirit god realm was, he knew that a person who could be called a spirit god was definitely a great figure at the peak of the realm. Therefore, he was curious about the Heaven Domain. Senior, what kind of place is the Heaven Domain? The Heaven Domain is above your fighting spirit continent. It's a vast space. When your strength reaches the limit of the fighting spirit continent, you'll have the opportunity to tear open the void lightning gate and ascend to the Heaven Domain. And this true spirit secret realm is the simplest place of inheritance left behind by the Spirit Clan in the Heaven Domain. Now that you've passed all the tests in the true spirit secret realm, in addition to the ultimate reward, You're qualified to challenge other places of inheritance. Ling Chutian said, Senior, this isn't the only place of inheritance left behind by the spirit clan? Yi Chenfeng raised his eyebrows and asked in surprise. Yes, the spirit clan left behind hundreds of places of inheritance in various spaces. However, these places of inheritance are divided into 4 grades. The true spirit secret realm you passed is the lowest grade and also the simplest place of inheritance. It'll get harder and harder as you go. Ling Chutian nodded and said, The true spirit secret realm is the simplest place of inheritance. Yi Chenfeng sucked in a breath of cold air. He couldn't imagine how difficult the other places of inheritance would be. You should know that the treasures left behind by the spirit clan in these places of inheritance were passed down by the spirit clan for hundreds of millions of years. They're extremely precious. As for the last place of inheritance in my soul, it's related to a great secret. It's because of this secret that the spirit clan was destroyed. All right, it's too early to tell you some things. We'll talk about it after you pass the tests of the other places of inheritance. Now, I'll give you your reward. Then, Ling Chutian opened his mouth, and a white stream of light shot out from his mouth and blasted into Yi Chenfeng's mind. The next moment, a topographic map condensed from white light appeared in Yi Chenfeng's mind. This is the second land of inheritance left behind by the spirit clan in the soul-fighting continent. It's located in the deity Sea, the core of the 3 divine nations in the central continent. However, it's up to you whether you can pass through this land of inheritance. Remember, the second land of inheritance is far more difficult than the true spirit realm. If you don't have enough strength, don't go there without permission. Otherwise, you will lose your life. Ling Chutian solemnly reminded. Junior understands. Yi Chenfeng nodded and said, Yi Chenfeng, do you know what the most precious treasure in this true spirit secret realm is? Ling Chutian asked, Is this the sword puppet? Yi Chenfeng said as he looked at the near-invincible sword puppet that was completely controlled by the Devourer God. That's right. The most precious treasure in this true spirit secret realm is the sword puppet that the spirit clan's experts spent 100 years to refine. Ling Chutian nodded and said, Now that you've passed the test of the sword puppet, it's yours in the future. Many thanks, Senior. Yi Chenfeng was overjoyed when he heard that Ling Chutian was giving the sword puppet to him. With the help of the sword puppet, he didn't need to fear the experts of the 3 sections. Don't be too happy yet. This sword puppet's energy has been depleted. If you want to control the sword puppet to attack, you will need to fuse 3 peak grade soul crystals into its body. Only then can the sword puppet attack. Ling Chutian said as she looked at the excited Yi Chenfeng. 3 peak grade soul crystals? Yi Chenfeng's eyes widened in shock. Not to mention peak grade soul crystals, he didn't even have a single high grade soul crystal. Right now, he only had 500 mid-grade soul crystals and several tens of thousands of low-grade soul crystals on him. Senior, do you know if low-grade soul crystals can replace peak-grade soul crystals to control the sword puppet's attack? This junior really can't get any peak-grade soul crystals. Yi Chenfeng asked with a bitter smile. Low-grade soul crystals won't work, but mid-grade soul skills should work. However, mid-grade soul crystals don't contain pure soul energy. I estimate that you will need at least 50,000 mid-grade soul crystals to control the sword puppet's attack. Moreover, if you use mid-grade soul crystals as energy stones, the sword puppet's attack power will be greatly affected. At most, it can only display the strength of a Class 5 Mystic Beast Ancestor. Ling Chutian said, Class 5 Mystic Beast Ancestor? That's enough strength. Although Yi Chenfeng only had 500 mid-grade soul crystals on him, they weren't hard to exchange for in the fighting spirit continent. After selling all the treasures on him, he still had a chance to exchange for 50,000 mid-grade soul crystals. Other than the sword puppet, I'll also give you these 6 caddies of Spring of Life and 6 caddies of Heavenly Fate Water. These 6 caddies of Spring of Life can restore 6,000 years of your lifespan. It's enough for you to use the Life Soul Art. Ling Chutian gave Yi Qinfeng 2 porcelain bottles that contained a mustard seed space and whispered, "The value of this heavenly fate water isn't any lower than the spring of life. It can instantly restore your soul power and save your life in a critical moment. Thank you, Senior." Yi Qinfeng put the 2 porcelain bottles into his spatial bag and thanked Ling Chutian gratefully. Ling Chutian didn't give all the treasures in the true spirit secret realm to Yi Qinfeng and said slowly, "All right, I've given you all the treasures I can give you. I'll leave the rest for the fated ones." After all, Ling Chutian couldn't guarantee that Yi Qinfeng would be able to reach the end. If he died midway, Ling Chutian would have to continue selecting geniuses through the true spirit secret realm to pave the way for her revenge. "Yi Qinfeng, I'm going to continue sleeping. I hope you can make it to the end." With that, Ling Chutian opened her mouth and spat out a terrifying power that sent Yi Qinfeng out of the starry sky. "Yi Qinfeng, to be honest, I really didn't expect that you would be able to pass all 3 tests of the true spirit realm and obtain the most precious reward of the true spirit realm." The true spirit looked at the tall and straight Yi Qinfeng, who didn't look happy or sad, and said emotionally, although Yi Qinfeng wasn't very strong right now, the true spirit could feel an aura that could surpass the 9 heavens from him. This junior was able to pass the true spirit secret realm mostly because of luck. Yi Qinfeng said humbly, "Luck is only one aspect. Some people become more courageous when faced with setbacks. Some people retreat when faced with difficulties. Some people can even turn a calamity into an opportunity. It can't be said that they are lucky, but they have an unyielding belief and confidence in themselves. And you're such a person. I have high hopes for your future. All right, I'll keep my promise and bring you to the spirit pond of the secret realm. I'll help you mutate your spiritual beast and break through to the first level of the heavenly beast immortal realm.